Diddy is in trouble with the law, but it seems like all these other celebrities are too, like Prince Harry, Usher, and Leonardo DiCaprio. A lot of celebrities were named in lawsuits against Diddy, and one of those people just so happened to be Prince Harry. Yup, you heard that right, a member of the royal family has ties with Diddy. Now, Diddy is said to have drawn guests to his infamous parties through his VIP associations with celebrities such as famous athletes, political figures, artists, musicians, and international dignitaries like British royal Prince Harry, according to the legal notice. Now, there's no suggestion of any wrongdoing by the prince, and his name is only mentioned once in the documents as an example of a well-known celebrity associate of Diddy. Now, both Harry and his brother Prince William were pictured with Diddy and Kanye West in 2007 after the musicians performed in the Concert for Diana at Wembley Stadium. Now, Harry hasn't been accused of anything, but just being associated with Diddy is a huge red flag. While there are anonymous or redacted celebrities named in one of the suits, it's not too difficult to figure out who they are. While Chris Brown isn't named specifically in the court documents, he's referenced as one of two redacted figures, redacted R&B singer, who was specifically alleged to have been in Mr. Combs' Los Angeles home consorting with girls and adult workers. Another clue that points to it being Chris is the footnote at the bottom of that same page, which reads, Grammy award-winning R&B singer who had trouble with law enforcement after mistreating a Bajan billionaire. Then, like Chris, while Meek Mill wasn't named specifically in court documents, he's referenced as one of two redacted rapper figures who was specifically and allegedly in Mr. Combs' Los Angeles home consorting with girls and adult workers. Now, another clue that points to it being Meek Mill's is the footnote at the bottom of that same page, which reads, he is a Philadelphia rapper who dated Nicki Minaj. Now, to be honest, is anyone really shocked that Chris Brown is connected to this? I mean, after what he's done to Rihanna and other women, it makes a lot of sense. Now, I just hope that these new victims get the justice they deserve and he's put behind bars like he should have been many years ago. Now, producer Rodney Jones filed a lawsuit against Diddy at the beginning of 2024 for mistreating him, taking advantage of him, and making him a witness to multiple crimes. Now, Diddy wasn't the only person named though. An amended complaint filed in March in the U.S. District Court of the Southern District of New York by Rodney listed Cuba Gooding Jr. as a defendant. Rodney accuses Cuba of harassment and being taken advantage of. Specifically, Rodney accuses Diddy of manipulating him to pass him off to Cuba. Now, the two were left alone in a makeshift studio on a yacht rented by Diddy, according to the complaint. There, Cuba became inappropriate, and this isn't the first time he's been charged for acting this way, so it makes me inclined to believe that Rodney is telling the truth. The CEO of Universal Music Group and the father-in-law to Sophia Richie, Lucian Grange, is also listed as a defendant in Rodney's amended complaint. He is accused of aiding and abetting Diddy. Rodney says that as CEO, Lucian had a duty to ensure that the financial support they provided to Diddy and Love Records was not being used for adult workers, substances, and alcohol. Now, attorneys for Lucian have filed a motion to dismiss, in which they call the accusations offensively false. In a sworn statement to the court, he called the accusations completely untrue and absurd, and said that he plans to pursue both plaintiffs and his counsel for having made such false accusations. Now, he also pointed out that he is the CEO of a multinational public company and is not involved in the day-to-day operations of the company's thousands of agreements. And Justin Dior Combs, Diddy's 30-year-old son, has been linked to helping his father commit crimes. Justin has been accused of soliciting adult workers as well as engaging in freak-offs. It's also been said that Justin and Diddy were the only two people present in the room when a man named G was injured at a recording studio, so this implies that one of them hurt G. Now, Justin was at Diddy's Los Angeles home when it was raided by feds, and he was seen handcuffed on the lawn outside, though he was not arrested. Justin's lawyer said that the complaint was utterly bonkers on his radio show Beyond the Legal Limit. It's clearly written in an effort to get as much publicity as possible, not only for the case but for the lawyer actor whose name I don't even remember, literally some maniac, he said. Now Misa Hilton, the mother of Justin and an ex-girlfriend of Diddy, spoke out against the raid. She posted on social media, "The overzealous and overtly militarized force used against my sons Justin and Christian is deplorable," she wrote. "If these were the sons of a non-black celebrity, they would not have been handled with the same aggression. The attempt to humiliate and terrorize these innocent young black men is despicable. Enough is enough." She then said her son's attorney is investigating to determine if the force used by law enforcement was excessive. "We will fight for justice utilizing every imaginable source. I'm not okay with the propaganda," she wrote online. Now, in a statement released a day after the raids, a lawyer representing Diddy called the raids a gross overuse of military-level force, adding that there was no excuse for the hostility exhibited by authorities or the way his children and employees were treated. But yeah, it seems like Justin was involved with a lot of the stuff his father did, and I'm sure he'll be joining him in prison soon. Then there's Usher. Usher has known Diddy for a long time, as in the early 90s when he was a young star, he was sent to live with the already established Diddy in New York City at his Puffy Flavor Camp, where he was expected to learn the ropes of the industry. During their time together, Diddy served as Usher's mentor, and Diddy taught him a lot alright, like how to party. Usher has never spoken negatively about Diddy and has even joked about his time living with Diddy in interviews, implying that he was exposed to an adult lifestyle well beyond his years. While the singer has been frank about his experiences, sharing that he went there to see the lifestyle and saw it, he has never expanded further on Diddy's parties. In an interview with Howard Stern, Usher revealed that living with Diddy was pretty wild. He went on to say, "There were very curious things taking place, and I didn't necessarily understand." Then when Stern asked him if he would send his kids to Diddy's camp, Usher's response was a resounding hell no. But after Diddy was arrested, it appeared that Usher deleted all of his tweets and his Twitter account altogether. Later though, he made a post saying he was hacked, but the timing was just extremely suspicious. And Leonardo DiCaprio is someone else who's been linked to Diddy. There's photos of Leo in attendance at his parties, and in the past, Diddy once named Leo as the #1 person on his white party invitation list, which raises some eyebrows. I mean, you just don't say that about anybody. Now, people have been looking at Leo strange, but a source close to him says he has not been in contact with Diddy for years, saying he never attended freak-offs and has nothing to do with the case. Now, the pair were last seen together in 2019 when Leo attended Diddy's 50th birthday party. The source went on to say Leonardo DiCaprio has absolutely nothing to do with any of this. He attended a few of his parties back in the early 2000s, but literally everyone did. They were not freak-offs, they were big house parties. Leo was at the start of his career at the time and has moved way past his partying. He has nothing to do with any of that world, so for anyone to assume that he'll get roped into this based on a few grainy photos that are more than 20 years old is ridiculous. I don't know though, it's a little suspicious considering Leo was one of the #1 people on Diddy's list to invite. It's just straight up fishy. Now, in 1994, Usher lived with Diddy, which is said to have been recommended by L.A. Reid so Usher could get the flavor of the high life. Diddy had custody of him and was able to do whatever he wanted with the future star. A 2016 clip of Usher on the Howard Stern show, though, has been going viral, as a clip shows Stern asking Usher if Diddy's home was known for wild parties. Usher then said, "Not really, I got a chance to see some things. I don't know if I could indulge and even understand what I was looking at." He went on to say, "It was pretty wild, it was crazy. There were very curious things taking place and I didn't necessarily understand it." Now, it seems like he was exposed to all of this at a very young age and was not ready. Diddy really took advantage of Usher's innocence, as I'm sure he saw some pretty messed up things happening. YouTuber Jeff Wittick has also spoken out about attending Diddy's parties. Now, he spoke about it on his podcast, Jeff FM. He claimed that he had a recent realization remembering he'd been to a Diddy party. And these Diddy parties are like effing crazy, like they're the best parties, like people wanted to go to them, he said. That's what's been so troubling about this whole thing, is like if you were anybody in the space at that time, you'd be at one of those parties. Everybody went to those parties and people took pictures with him too. Like bro, if you were around in the mid 2000s and you saw Diddy at a Super Bowl, you'd take a picture with him. Now speaking of the party he attended, Jeff said he went to one of them with Amber Rose and his ex-girlfriend, and remembers being confused over them getting dressed up. He continued by saying, "I'm like dressing up like I'm going to a normal party or whatever, like I got my effing polo with the collar pop, two of them, I've doubled up, and they're wearing this lingerie where their bodies are showing through, and I'm like, you guys are going like that," and they were like, "You don't understand these parties," and I did not understand. Now Jeff also said he witnessed people getting intimate at the party right in front of him, and he said he did not participate in that part, but he got super drunk. "It was just crazy, I was literally there and lived through it," he added. Now it seems like Ashton Kutcher knows something, but he's not willing to reveal it to the world. During a 2019 episode of Hot Ones, the host asked Ashton about Diddy's infamous parties. "I've got a lot I can't tell," he said. "Can't tell that one either, I'm actually cycling through them. Diddy party stories, man, that was some weird memory lane thing." Now the fact that he has all these different stories but he can't tell them raises some eyebrows. It's like he knows what happened in the stories was wrong and messed up, and he doesn't want to admit it. Now footage has emerged of Ashton at one of Diddy's white parties, and although there was nothing illegal shown in the clip, it still raises a lot of questions. Now Diddy and Ashton met through MTV and became friends very quickly. I think Ashton knows more about the whole situation than he's really letting on to, as he could get into major trouble for what happened. Then there's the Kardashians. During a 2014 episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, Khloe Kardashian told her older sister Kourtney that she spent the weekend with a bunch of her friends, including Diddy, Quincy Combs, Justin Bieber, and French Montana. Later on, she spoke more about the party to Kourtney and one of her friends who was also there. "I haven't been to bed yet, I got on a plane at 5:30 a.m., Khloe shared. "Well, this party, I think half the people were butt naked," she added. Then Khloe's friend tried telling more about what happened, but Khloe shushed her. What was she trying to hide? Now another clip, this time from a 2016 episode of Cocktails with Khloe, has gone viral, showing Khloe and Kourtney talking to Diddy. "Well, I know you're known for the parties. When you think of a party or a good time, you think of Puff," Khloe said. Now Diddy simply responded, "Yeah," to which Khloe added, "We've been known to party with you a few times." Kourtney asking, "Do you remember Diddy's birthday?" to which Kourtney admitted, "Yes, I forgot about that. That was an epic night too." Ray J was recently interviewed by Chris Como on the news station Como, and he opened up about his relationship with Diddy, having gone to many of his parties. Ray J was adamant though that everything at these parties was normal. "We've never seen the stuff that's being said and the stuff that people's finding out, like I've never been in the rooms that people are talking about, and I never knew they existed," he said. Ray J then admitted Diddy's situation is unfortunate, and he says the next generation of entertainers should learn from the Bad Boy Records CEO's mistakes and show more integrity and transparency. But just because Ray J didn't see the crimes happening doesn't mean that they weren't. According to a former music industry insider, Tom Swoop, he had been to the parties and posted about it on his YouTube channel. He broke down how the parties worked for viewers and claims that the parties were separated into tiers of access. There was general admission, then a series of tiers ending with entrance to the inner circle where the real partying went on. Now this allegedly included humiliating male and female guests on the promise of record deals or money. Now it sounds like Ray J was part of the general admissions tier and wasn't exposed to all the bad things happening behind closed doors. In a resurfaced video from 2010, Russell Brand said that Diddy took him on an enforced holiday when the pair were working on the movie Get Him to the Greek. "Diddy is new to me, right?" he said at the time. "He looked after me, he took me on an enforced holiday to Vegas. He's a very intense man because I think he comes from nothing and now he's very powerful. People that do stuff like that, they're very intense. Now I like him, he's very influential," he explained, adding that saying no to Diddy was difficult. Say that you don't want to do something and Diddy wants you to do it, it's really hard to not do that thing, you still do it because you think, don't upset him, he said. He's an influential person, he may ask you for loads of favors and you can't say no to him. That's my worry, pressure, he added. I don't want to be nobody nobody's B, I work too hard in life, not even Diddy's B. Now, Russell has been accused of similar crimes as Diddy has been, which is just something to note. And finally, Rodney Jones was a producer on Diddy's last album, and he filed a lawsuit against the star. He accused the rapper of mistreating him and exposing him to several crimes. In an August interview with Rolling Stone, Rodney called Diddy a monster and said he is hiding, afraid that he will have his life ended for speaking up against the star. He's a monster, he told the magazine. He'll do whatever necessary to get what he wants. He doesn't take no for an answer. He told me himself, I'll smack my mama. Anyone who can say that even jokingly is a monster. He's nothing to be played with. For a person whose brand is Love Records and changed their name to Love and named their kid Love, he doesn't show love, he's just marketing. He went on to say that he is afraid of Diddy. I got threats, I've never had so much hitting me at once. Diddy has a lot of people on his payroll in a lot of different positions. He's very connected, it's made me nervous traveling, he said. Diddy, though, has denied all of this. Mr. Jones's lawsuit is pure fiction, a shameless attempt to create media hype and extract a quick settlement, Diddy's lawyer Erica Wolf said in a statement after filing a new motion to dismiss Rodney's amended 98-page complaint. Now, I think Rodney was very brave for what he's done, and his lawsuit was the catalyst in the downfall of Diddy.
We really need to pay attention to the people that have spoken up about Puff Daddy over the years. Former Danity Kane songstress Aubrey O'Day alleged that Puff controlled her appearance and controlled other things while filming Making the Band when she was just 21 years old. So she got candid about the criticism she faced while working on the MTV reality series that aired back in 2005 alongside Puff, because, well, he was an executive producer. So she says, I look back at the beginning of Making the Band and Aubrey auditioning, and I'm like, I don't know how I became like the face of the band. And now she said this on an episode of the Crisis Queen podcast, and she said like Puff would be on camera saying how much he hated everything, but then he was off camera telling her all the ways she needed to be looking perfect, like down to her toenails, which, like, I'm sorry, sounds a little weird to me. She alleged that the I'll Be Missing You rapper labeled her the looker of the band and once sent her out of the studio because her toes weren't properly polished. She alleged that this was part of the cycle of harm. She said, with Puff, I saw multiple sides of him. She continued in another part of the interview, but I don't know who I was even talking to that was sober. There was always an element of something going on. She once claimed that Puff forbid her from being friends with a certain very big name person whom he was also involved with, and she said that was the first time he had kind of said, you're not allowed to be around that person ever again. She explained that she knew her unnamed friend's experience with the rapper, and she said that was the first time she started to see the dynamics change with just how he approached her on camera. So O'Day was part of Danity Kane until 2008, when she allegedly got booted for not doing what was expected of her. But it wasn't talent-wise, she alleges this was in other areas. She said that on the Call Her Daddy podcast in 2022. After coming off of Puff, there's not many people you can go into a room with and get that type of experience from. That was what she said on the Crisis Queen podcast. I know, lots of podcast appearances, folks. She said, this sort of treatment is a process. You're not just harmed day one. People who do this usually make their victims feel comfortable before flipping a switch. She said she compared it to the military. They break you down and build you back up into the soldier they need you to be for the country they need you to be fighting for. So in April, she alleged that Puffy tried to buy her silence by offering her all sorts of things, and she declined the deal. So good on you for speaking out. One person who has come forward might be able to provide some answers as to why other people are choosing to stay silent. So 50 Cent is not holding back about his longtime rival. He addressed his relationship with Puffy in an interview with The Hollywood Reporter recently. So these two guys worked in the same circles way back in the day, and 50 Cent has explained why he never attended the Bad Boy Records founder's famous parties. Now these are the parties where Puffy allegedly committed some of the heinous acts he's been accused of. So 50 Cent said, I've been very vocal about not going to Puffy parties and doing like that. He said, I've been staying out of that for years. It's just an uncomfortable energy connected to it. He asked to take me shopping. This is what 50 Cent claimed. I thought that was the weirdest thing in the world, because that might be something somebody says, you know, to somebody they want to take out. And 50 Cent was like, nah, I'm not effing with this weird energy or weird coming off the way he was just moving. From that, I wasn't comfortable around him. Now 50 Cent also specifically addressed the 2016 video that emerged earlier this year, the one that shows Puffy attacking Cassie Ventura in a hotel hallway. So he said, and I quote, first he denied that it even happened, and then the tape comes out, so that means everything that says is a lie. And yeah, Originally, Puffy strongly denied the allegations and all the suits against him. 50 Cent continued, "When someone watches that, if they have a daughter and they can imagine her being under those circumstances, that is crazy. Like, they let him get away with it. With all the influence and power you have, the person you're with is supposed to want to be a part of your life, not be forced." And also, by the way, 50 Cent is making a documentary about the allegations against Puffy. So I believe, if I remember correctly, Netflix purchased the rights to the doc back in May, and it's called Diddy Do It, which I appreciate a good pun. So 50 Cent did say that the proceeds from the docuseries would go towards victims of SA. Now when asked, like, why are you the person to produce this? 50 Cent said, "I'm the only one from hip hop culture that's produced quality projects. We do have a lot of talent within our culture where the talent has developed a comfortability in front of the camera, so they're usually a part of it as an actor or driving force of why someone would watch the project, but not the behind the scenes production, producing the whole project." So there's a difference. So once again, despite the two working very much kind of close together in the early 2000s, 50 Cent has clarified these guys were never friends. He said it was mostly work. I wouldn't call it a friendship because there wouldn't be disappointment between us if we didn't speak to each other. He said there were points where they worked together. Jennifer Lopez actually told Puffy that he should work with 50 Cent as a songwriter in the beginning, and 50 Cent was around at the early stages, and Puffy could have done his record deal at that point. So apparently this happened around the year 2000. But then there was the whole, Puffy following 50 Cent after 50 Cent was, fired at by somebody with a weapon outside of his grandmother's house. That was after the label Trackmasters signed him. So 50 Cent said, "I'm just getting back to work," and Puffy would call me to write. I remember my son's mom would answer, and I didn't want to get on the phone, like, no. And she was like, "What the F? We need money." She's looking at me like, "What? Why don't you want to talk to him?" And 50 Cent would be like, "I didn't want to ever party or hang out with him. Puff is a business person. When people call him a producer, I see people that were taken advantage of, who produced things that he took from them. He got the credit. He's not a producer. He's been able to take advantage of the business and the creatives in it. I don't have any interest in doing that. I actually fall under the creative. So I just didn't take to hanging out with that." Now 50 Cent has been asked, like, why aren't other celebrities speaking up like you are? He said some of them were involved at the parties and enjoyed themselves, so they don't know what the F is on tape or whatever's not on tape. So they're not gonna say anything because they might have had too much fun. And then you've got other people who look and go, "Well, that's not my business and I don't want to be in it." And he said, then you've got a part of our culture that says, that's snitching, or dry snitching, or stuff like that. And he said, "It's not uncomfortable for me to say what I said because, well, I've been saying this for years. For like 4 years, 5 years, if not longer." He said, "I've been telling you I don't F with him. I don't like the way he be moving. This is a little crazy. Everybody else is not going to be as comfortable as he is saying it." So why aren't people comfortable saying things? Well, as allegations continue to surface about these parties, turns out anybody who went to these parties had to sign an NDA. And this was like a pretty standard agreement, like you can't share any information related to the disgraced music mogul himself, any of his partners, any of his family members, his friends, and his business associates. You also couldn't photograph, film, or record Puffy or anybody around him without written consent, and it explicitly named social media platforms where you could not post photos or videos of anything without permission. You were also told not to give interviews, write books, or discuss anything about Puffy or things seen at his parties. The NDA seems to cover anything that could get him into trouble. It does expire. Apparently it's valid for the length of Puffy's life, plus 20 years or 70 years, whichever is longer. Yes, it's a pretty boilerplate NDA, but the basic gist of it is that if you went to the party, you need Puffy's written consent to share anything. Granted, it hasn't really held up in terms of keeping authorities out of his business. Look, funny little story from earlier this year. The city of Miami was like, "We want our key back." So they gave him a key to the city back in 2015 after Revolt. Remember the whole Revolt music conference? He held it there and they were like, "Oh yeah." But then earlier this year, when the footage came out, the one of the bad things, and then he got arrested, Miami was like, "No, we want that back." And also, apparently Miami Beach once had a Puffy Day. It occurred on October 13th. Yeah, that's not gonna happen ever again. One other friendship we should mention today, Puffy and Ashton Kutcher. These guys constantly praised each other over the last 20 years. Ashton made many an appearance at Puffy's infamous parties. There's photos, there's videos of them hanging out, and it looks like Ashton was having a really good time. So when asked about the get-togethers, I think this was like a Hot Ones interview, Ashton said, "I've got a lot I can't tell." And it looked like he was going through like a Rolodex in his head. He's like, can't tell that one either. I'm cycling through them. Party stories, man, like that was some weird memory lane thing. And well, please do tell them, Ashton. we could do with knowing. When he was just getting his foot in the music industry's door, Usher spent a year living with Puff. Usher opened up about his experience in a 2016 interview with Howard Stern, and although he made it sound like a blast, he did hint at something more disturbing beneath the surface. He said that he didn't understand what he was even looking at, and very curious things were taking place. Perhaps the most telling, Usher made it clear that he wouldn't want his descendants attending Puffy Camp like he did. Regardless, Usher's protege, Justin Bieber, would once spend 48 hours with Puff, unchaperoned. It may be just speculation, but a fake phone number that Bieber later gave Puff now reads like a cry for help. After being fired from Hot 97 in 1998, Wendy Williams accused Puff of playing a role in all of that. In 2004, Williams wrote that she would never forget the hell that he put her through. On a 2015 episode of her show, she commented on the allegations that Cassie Ventura was hiding from him, and she painted him as a mogul that you can't escape. That same year, Williams asked Jennifer Lopez if she'd ever get back together with him, and Lopez's mother, Guadalupe Rodriguez, basically answered for her daughter with a look that said everything. Aubrey O'Day alleged that Puff groomed her and controlled her appearances while filming Making the Band when she was around 21 years old. The former Danity Kane songstress recently got candid about the criticism that she faced while working on the MTV reality series alongside Puff, who was an executive producer on the show. She said, "I look at the beginning of the show, and I was auditioning, and I'm so young, and I'm like, I don't know how I became like the really gorgeous-faced one," she said on an appearance of the Crisis Queen podcast. Puff is on camera saying how much he hates it, but he's off camera telling me all the ways I need to be groomed properly, like down to my toenails. Yeah, one day, apparently, the rapper was like, "Yeah, you're the looker of the band," but sent her out of the studio in the same day because her toes weren't properly polished. And she said a lot of this was a part of the cycle of harm. She said, "With Puff, I saw multiple sides of him, but I don't know who I was even talking to that was sober. There was always an element of something going on." O'Day claimed Puff once forbid her from being friends with a certain very big name person whom he was also involved with. And she said that was the first time he had kind of said, "You're not allowed to be around that person ever again." And oof. She's like, and that was the first time I started to see the dynamics change with just how he approached me on camera. So like I mentioned before, she was part of Danity Kane until 2008, and then she was booted for not doing what was expected of her. But she said that wasn't talent-wise, that was in other areas. She said after coming off of Puff, there's not many people you can go into a room with and get that type of feeling from. Kind of cryptic, but okay. And she's mentioned that like grooming is a process. You're not just harmed on day one. Groomers make their victims feel comfortable before flipping a switch. She said it's like the military. They break you down and build you back up into the soldier that they need you to be for what they need you for. Now, Puff allegedly tried to buy her silence by offering her publishing rights back in 2023, but allegedly she declined the deal. Cassie Ventura was in a relationship with Puff from 2007 till 2018, and there were the signs of trouble in paradise. In 2015, Cassie posted a photo with the caption, "How I sleep knowing that I'm single and nobody's cheating on me." And then the next year, it was reported that the two were seen arguing in Beverly Hills. 5 years after their final breakup, Cassie filed a lawsuit against Puff. The lawsuit specifically accuses him of all kinds of violence, harm, harassment, discrimination, hostile work environment, and other things I can't talk about. And although he denied these claims, that the lawsuit would be settled out of court. But that's not the end. Then there was footage from 2016 that hit the surface of the news, depicting Puff kind of harming Ventura. He issued an apology, but a lot of folks have been supporting Cassie, rightfully so. His attorney, Ben Brafman, said in a statement that Puff vehemently denies these offensive and outrageous allegations. For the past 6 months, he has been subjected to Cassie's persistent demand of $30 million, under the threat of writing a damaging book about the relationship, which was unequivocally rejected as blatant blackmail. Despite withdrawing her initial threat, Ms. Ventura has now resorted to filing a lawsuit riddled with baseless and outrageous lies, aiming to tarnish his reputation and seeking a payday. Well, when it came to what Cassie had to say about it, she kept it professional. "We will always support law enforcement when it seeks to prosecute those that have violated the law." That was it. Hopefully this is the beginning of a process that will hold Puff responsible for his depraved conduct. A week after Puff's arrest earlier this year, actress Jenny Mullen revealed that she was once invited to one of the music mogul's freak-offs when she was actually under the legal drinking age in the States. She said, "I was in San Diego and this guy came over and he's like, 'My boss wants to meet you.' And she was just like hanging out. She was in jeans, a t-shirt. She eventually went over, met Puff, and she joked that he had the littlest hand she's ever felt. And then allegedly he invited her up to his room for a party and she declined. And then she's like, 'Guys, would I have been in a freak off? Would I have been like captured in his room? And would there be footage of me to this day in some sort of crazy exploitative freak off?' Cat Williams predicted Puff's downfall during an appearance on the Club Shay Shay podcast in January of this year. She said all of these deviants is catching all hell in 2024. It's up for all of them. Doesn't matter who you is, Pastor TD, Jigs, any of them. Williams also claimed he was invited to several of Puff's infamous parties over the years, but always declined. He said, I've had to turn down $50 million 4 times just to protect my integrity and that something that hasn't been violated that I was telling you about. Because Puff be wanting to party and you gotta tell him no. He repeated, like, you gotta tell him no. I did. See, I got the receipts for everything. I'm telling you. That's why I can say them so freely. While Puff has faced numerous accusations throughout the years, Rodney, or Little Rod Jones, was among the first to take serious legal action, contributing to the mogul's current circumstances. Jones was a producer on the Love album, Off the Grid, and according to Jones, he endured many things that went far beyond his role as a producer. Jones alleged that Puff repeatedly groped him and made him participate in unwanted activities, and that included having to work in the bathroom while Puff showered. What's more, Jones claimed that he once woke up nude in bed with Puff and 2 professionals after being slipped something, and his lawsuit also implicates Puff's son, Justin Dior, and Chief of Staff Christina Coram, the latter of whom was also accused of grooming. Former bad boy artist Mace, who has feuded with Puff for many years over money and the rights to his music, referenced the raids on Puff's house earlier this year on an episode of his podcast, It Is What It Is. When his co-host, Cameron, asked how the Harlem World rapper was doing, Mace responded, I'm good, man. Reparations is getting closer and closer. I'll be sure to give you your percentage. For context on the feuds, the Welcome Back rapper and his former boss's conflict extends back decades, with both parties claiming that the other owed them money. In 2020, Mace alleged that he faced difficulties regaining his publishing from Puff, and he did not properly receive these rights until 2023. Brutal! Curtis James Jackson III, aka 50 Cent, is another big name who's had some stuff to say about Puff. Now, this all started back in 2006 with a diss track that alleged that Puff's was connected to the death of Biggie Smalls. In October 2023, though, 50 Cent elaborated on his beef with Puff, describing his parties as uncomfortable. During his final lap tour, 50 Cent said Puff would hug you from the front and the back at the same time. And 50 Cent has been even more vocal about Puff following the raid on his homes earlier this year. It's also been reported that 50 Cent sold a docuseries to Netflix entitled Did He Do It? Speaking of which, 50 Cent has also claimed that Puff got Tupac killed. Again, there isn't much backing this up, although Tupac was also skeptical of Puff. Speaking with Vibe magazine back in 1995, Tupac was asked if he thought Puff was connected to the previous year, the first incident, and he didn't hold back. He was like, I believe so, adding that it's between me and him and only he knows. Well, a year later, Tupac was involved in another awful event, this one proving fatal, and Dwan Keefe D. Davis, who was arrested for Tupac's death in 2023, once said that Puff offered $1 million to carry out the killing. Whether or not Puff was involved, these words paint the portrait of a not-so-great man.
We all know that Jennifer Lopez used to date Diddy, but now her ex-husband is claiming that J.Lo attended Diddy's parties and actually knew what was going on. Ohani Noah, J.Lo's first husband, took to social media to distance himself from any connection to Diddy's freak-off parties, but claimed that J.Lo was one of multiple celebrities present at them. While we do know that J.Lo has been to Diddy parties, as there's photographic evidence, there has been nothing official put out about her involvement in freak-offs. Now, in a post on Instagram, Noah shared a list of stars who have allegedly attended Diddy's parties, one being J.Lo. I'm not on the list, he captioned the post. To those people and media outlets asking if I ever went or participated in that piece of Diddy's freak-off parties, no and no. Never. But my ex-wife, Jennifer Lopez, aka J.Lo, did. Ask her. Noah, who married J.Lo in February 1997, before the couple divorced less than a year later, blames their split on Diddy's working relationship with J.Lo. Now, that relationship was created during the making of J.Lo's debut album On the 6th, and it later became romantic, with Diddy and J.Lo dating between 1999 and 2001 before calling it quits. She went from Jen to being J.Lo, this big business bringing in millions. Noah once told Daily Mail of the shift of their relationship. relationship. She had all these new people around her, all wanting to make money off of her. I would call and an assistant would say, sorry, she's not available. Now, this isn't the first time her ex-husband has called her out. Despite the fact that they were only married for 9 months, Noah has been trying to slander his former flame to keep his name in the news by any means possible. In 2006, he set out to publish a tell-all book dubbed The Unknown Truth, a passionate portrait of a serial thriller, which Jennifer stopped with a lawsuit, claiming that her ex was breaking their confidentiality agreement. She was then awarded $545,000 in damages, and Noah was slapped with a court order, which forbade him from criticizing, casting in a negative light, or otherwise disparaging Jennifer. Then just 3 years later, he made headlines again when he threatened to release videos taped during the pair's honeymoon, showing the pop star in a revealing lack of clothing and in certain situations, especially in the hotel room. And this caused her to file a $10 million lawsuit against him. Meanwhile, during a 2016 appearance on Million Dollar Matchmaker, he dumped blame on his former wife, saying that she caused their split, and claimed, I was looking forward to being with her for the rest of my life, it didn't happen. She made the choice of her career instead of me. Now, after Jennifer tied the knot with Ben Affleck in July 2022, Noah publicly spoke out about her marriage. I wish her and Ben the best, but I'm not convinced it will last, he told the Daily Mail that month. Jen loves being in love, but she's been engaged 6 times. Ben is husband number 4. I was husband number 1, and she told me I was the love of her life. Now, it seems like in the end that he was right. Other stars have also called out J.Lo for her ties to Diddy as well. Elon Musk was speaking on the Joe Rogan Experience when he began talking about J.Lo's criticism of the recently elected president and his remarks about Puerto Ricans. He said J.Lo was like his ex-girlfriend, and now all of a sudden she's warning people about Trump. How many people did she warn about Diddy? Oh, 0. Maybe we shouldn't trust her opinion, he said. He added, people in the music industry had to know that Diddy was doing all those things. Where's the accountability? They had to know. Suge Knight also believes that J.Lo's and Ben's marriage fell apart because Homeland Security informed him that she was on the tapes that they found at Diddy's. It's a white man who got respect in the white world, Knight said on his podcast Collect Calls. I'm quite sure they said, we want to show you some things about your wife. I'm quite sure they headed for divorce because that's a man who had a good life. Great parents, don't spend a lot of money, ain't tripping off paparazzi, he's living his life. He got his own team, she done brought all that extra out, and now that mother effer he want out. Now, on the other hand though, Thea D'Souza, who worked with J.Lo on the 2002 film Made in Manhattan, posted a statement on Threads recently that defended the star and said that she had no involvement with any of this. If you knew Jennifer Lopez, if you ever worked with her like I did, or if you're close with people who are like family to her like I am, you would know she did not have any idea about Diddy. She barely drinks, she's not a partier, she isn't a good time girl, she's a workaholic who uplifts women and who was charmed by him for a brief time in her life. Now, she emphasized that J.Lo does not deserve to be conflated with Diddy's shocking and criminal misdeeds. Now, J.Lo was recently spotted out in public interacting with fans when a paparazzi asked her, J.Lo, do you have any comments about P. Diddy and the allegations? Now, immediately, J.Lo stopped taking photos and giving autographs and left. Many people begged her not to leave, but she didn't listen. She wanted nothing to do with answering that question or being associated with Diddy. Now, with Diddy's recent arrest, people have been speculating on his time with J.Lo. An anonymous source said he was very controlling, he would constantly put her in uncomfortable situations. This is a good girl from the Bronx who never got into trouble or was wild. The source also said he never hurt J.Lo, but she had her longtime manager, Benny Medina, to protect her. Benny would have ended Puffy's life if he laid a finger on J.Lo. But still, Puffy was controlling and demanding. Now, there's been a conflicting report though, as another source who knew the couple at the time said he definitely manhandled her, but it's a little low to bring all this up now. It's kicking a man when he's down. Then there was the nightclub situation. In 1999, Diddy was arrested following an incident that happened at a nightclub in New York. That night, Diddy was with his bodyguard Anthony Wolf, rapper Jamal Barrows, and Jennifer. As reported by Forbes, the incident started with a disagreement and ended with 3 different people becoming injured. After the incident, Diddy, J.Lo, and Jamal left the scene, but the 3 were involved in a police car chase. It was then reported that J.Lo threw evidence out of the car. According to the Washington Post, police found a stolen weapon weapon in the car, and both Diddy and J.Lo were arrested and initially charged with criminal possession of stolen property. The charges against J.Lo were dropped overnight, but Diddy and Jamal went to trial. Diddy faced additional charges of bribery as he had allegedly offered the driver of the car $50,000 to say the weapon was his. Diddy was acquitted of all charges, and Jamal was charged with 5 offenses, but nobody was ever charged and found guilty of the actual incident. But recently, one of Diddy's accusers, Rodney Jones, who filed a lawsuit against the star, claimed that Diddy was responsible for the incident in the nightclub in New York and alleged that Diddy bragged about using J.Lo to smuggle the weapon into the club. He shared that the artist and his girlfriend at the time, Jennifer Lopez, carried the weapon into the club for him, passed it to him after he got into an altercation with another individual, Jones is alleged in the lawsuit. All I can say about this is yikes. Now, Diddy has denied the accusations, but again, J.Lo has remained silent. Is there more to this story that J.Lo is letting on? And if she could lie about that, then has she really been involved with the crimes happening at Diddy's parties? There's so much speculation right now, but it seems like we won't get an answer about it unless J.Lo is called on to testify at Diddy's trial, which is currently set for May 5th, 2025.
Ray J has a take on why we might not be hearing more from victims of Puff Daddy and the parties. So he claims that he knows of multiple celebrities who are doing everything they can to hide their connections to the music mogul. And the newsworthy part of this is that he thinks he knows how they're doing it. He said, and I'm quote, "I'm hearing about artists paying victims to keep their names out of it." So there's this new documentary called The Downfall of Diddy, Inside the Freak-Offs. It's on Tubi, and he said, and I quote, "Somebody has a truth. Somebody pays you to keep it quiet, and hopefully that money you got paid secures your happiness while you watch the lie continue to succeed." Also, the documentary totally free, so worth the watch. When asked about whether alleged victims are approaching celebrities connected to these alleged crimes and asking for a hush money, he said, "It's the other way around. It's, I'll give you money, please don't talk." Yeah, the classic hush money makes things go away tactic. So as a longtime friend of Puff Daddy himself, Ray J has maintained that he and many others were completely caught off guard by the shocking allegations that came out after the September arrests. He said, "We've never seen the stuff that's being said and the stuff that people are finding out." He said, "I've never been in the rooms that people are talking about, and I never knew they existed." The singer also speculated about why other friends of Puffy have yet to speak out about the allegations, saying, "I think a lot of people are in shock, a lot of people are dealing with it in their own way. I hear people aren't coming out because they either suspected this about him, or they don't want to have any connection to him." And then I guess there's another group who's worried they're going to get pulled in. So during the interview, Ray J appeared visibly uneasy as he described how some of the victims are being approached before any demands are made, because a lot of people are reaching out to victims before they've even asked for anything, trying to handle this quietly. He also mentioned that he thinks some stars might view him as a potential vessel for leaks about their participation in these alleged crimes, saying now they're going to be mad, without naming which celebrities he's referring to. "I've said too much, it happens all the time, people pay off victims to keep the truth quiet." He compared it to the catch and kill practice in media, where stories are suppressed to prevent them from going public. He claimed that a lot of celebrities are fearing videos are going to surface that could allegedly feature Puff Daddy in compromising situations with celebrities. He said, and I quote, "They fear the worst, that those videos could ruin them." Now, his involvement in the documentary has raised questions about the extent to which some will go to protect their reputations and distance themselves from these alleged actions. And although Ray J has been very vocal, he did admit his involvement has not come without conflict. He mentioned that his comments have strained relationships with Puff Daddy's family, leading to heated exchanges, saying, "I said some things that were out of bounds, I wasn't proud of myself," and he acknowledged that it has caused friction, but he said, "But I feel I needed to stand up for myself." Now, attorney Tony Busby also appeared in the documentary and revealed that he sent a demand letter to various high-profile people with an ultimatum: pay up or face a lawsuit, and he warned that anybody involved in covering up such activities could face legal repercussions, saying, "If you were present, if you saw something and did nothing, you too are liable." This was a word of caution. He said a lot of folks risk full exposure if the truth emerges. Well, I guess when the truth emerges. So on November 10th, by the way, 50 Cent shared a post on Instagram that showed Ray J speaking about the allegations during a recent appearance on News Nation, saying, "They saying people at the church doing it." Now, 50 Cent insisted that the clip may have been part of the reason that Ray almost got roughed up recently. He said, and I quote, we're gonna try and quote this, folks, "Oh, now I see why they was gonna pack Ray J out. He wildin', bro. It feels like he's saying this because Diddy down bad. I'ma harm Ray and tell him to chill. LOL." Now, these comments come on the heels of reports that Ray J nearly got into a scuffle with Puff Daddy's sons, Quincy, Christian, and Justin, at a recent Halloween party. I think it was on October 26th. sex. According to witnesses, the trio ran down Ray J in the parking lot of a party hosted by influencer Tara Electra, and things got heated, but Chris Brown of all people reportedly stepped in to defuse the situation. I know, I'm shocked too. Ray J has since talked about the incident and claimed that the brothers and 5 other people pressed him before Chris Brown saved the day. I never thought I'd say those words, but here we are. Speaking in an interview, Ray J claimed he was essentially ambushed just trying to leave the function, and there was like 8 people around him. So later, when he popped up on Nicki Minaj's Instagram Live, he gave even more insight into that, telling her that though they didn't physically fight, he had to stand his ground during the altercation because apparently this wasn't the first time that one of the sons had rolled up on him, saying, and I quote, "No, we didn't have a fight. We had a big argument right outside the club. This time I think I got loud and got aggressive. But it was the 3rd time this happened, so I felt like I needed to stand up for myself." He also added, "Even though I was talking, SHIT, and we were having a lot of crazy words, I was walking that way to avoid the issue. So that's what happened, and it's unfortunate." Ray J then went on to detail how Justin tried to engage with him at a hotel over his comments about the current legal stuff, but nothing happened. He said, "Justin said, let's take a fade. I don't like what you're talking about with my pops." And they tried to be arrogant. It was in another dimension. And he said, "I feel sad that violence is at the forefront of this, and we shouldn't do that." Now, several stars' past comments about all of these infamous parties have been re-examined in the wake of the 14-page indictment, which was unsealed in September and alleged that Puff Daddy hosted these elaborate and produced performances called freak-offs. Puffy and his business associates would allegedly use force, threats of force, and coercion to cause victims to engage in extended acts with commercial workers. Now, Puffy pleaded not guilty to the charges he faced in September and has very much denied the allegations against him. I know recently he proposed a new $50 million bail package that was backed by his Florida mansion, and he's hoping he's gonna win his release from jail because he's been held for, I think, 8 weeks at this point on criminal charges. And he did plead not guilty to the charges that he coerced and harmed women for years with the help from a network of associates and employees, while also silencing victims through blackmail and violence, including kidnapping, arson, and physical harm, which is a heck of a laundry list of things. So as allegations continue surfacing about the oh-so-infamous parties, it might actually be a while before the public, yep, that's us folks, gets all the details, because attendees were reportedly forced to sign NDAs if they went to these parties. According to sources, these NDAs were pretty standard. It said that any party attendees could not share information related to the disgraced music mogul himself, the partners, family members, friends, business associates. You also can't photograph, film, or record Puff Daddy or anybody around him without written consent, and it very specifically named social media platforms. You can't post the photos or the videos of Puffy without permission. So pretty standard stuff. Also, and this is kind of important folks, it says, do not give interviews, write books, or discuss anything about Puffy or things seen at his parties. So really, even though it's boilerplate, it does cover anything that could get the rapper into trouble. Don't worry folks, it does expire. The signed document is valid for the length of Puffy's life, plus 20 years or 70 years, whichever is longer. Sure, yeah, it's boilerplate and it's gonna take a hot minute, but it'll get out eventually. The basic gist, anybody who attended those parties needs the written consent to share anything, which I guess is why they're keeping mum. Granted, the NDA didn't keep authorities out of Puffy's business. We all know things are leaking out, including the removal of his key to the city of Miami. They were like, yeah, no, absolutely not. He was first awarded that back in 2015. They also got rid of Puff Daddy Day. Miami said nope, and I think New York also once upon a time gave him a key to this city, and they've also asked for it back. Miami Beach's mayor, Steve Miner, voted unanimously on getting rid of the key. It was a whole thing. So going back to New York, the mayor there, it's a big deal if the mayor is asking for your key back, folks. He sent a letter being yeah, no, and for that one, Puffy obliged, returned it. I know Howard University revoked his honorary degree. His ownership of Revolt was rescinded.
Now, since Diddy's arrest, various photos and videos have been leaked and have resurfaced, and celebs are panicking over it. Now, starting off, there's Ashton Kutcher. Now, past footage of him at one of Diddy's white parties, having a good time on a swing, has been going around. Also, photos of him and his then-wife Demi Moore have resurfaced. With this, people have looked more into Ashton and Diddy's past friendship, and it's honestly concerning. Ashton was actually really close with Diddy, and he once said, "If you're a single man, there's probably no greater human being in the world to hang out with. This is 20 years ago, 19 years ago. We were having a lot of fun together." Then, concerning footage of Ashton not being able to name an appropriate favorite Diddy party memory surfaced. While appearing on Hot Ones, host Sean Evans asked Ashton for his favorite memory at a Diddy party, but Ashton said, "I've got a lot I can't tell." He laughed and said, "I can't tell that one either." So if he can't tell those stories, how bad were they? But it's said that Ashton himself is worried about what could happen with this whole Diddy situation. An insider source revealed that Ashton absolutely regrets his friendship with Diddy, considering what has happened. He feels lied to, betrayed, taken for granted, and manipulated. Everyone who is close to Diddy fears the possibility of Diddy making up false allegations to clear his own name. Although Kutcher is frightened by the prospect of being involved in the case, he is also prepared to completely cooperate with authorities because he has nothing to hide. Now, in the past, Diddy once named Leo as the #1 person on his white party invitation list, which raises some eyebrows. I mean, you don't just say that. Now, people have been looking at Leo strange, but a source close to Leo says that he's not been in contact with Diddy for years, saying he never attended freak-offs and has nothing to do with the case. Now, the pair were last seen together in 2019 when Leo attended Diddy's 50th birthday party. But a source went on to say, Leonardo DiCaprio has absolutely nothing to do with any of this. He attended a few of his parties back in the early 2000s, but literally everyone did. They were not freak-offs, they were big house parties. Leo was at the start of his career at the time and has moved way past his partying. He has nothing to do with any of that world, so for anyone to assume that he will get roped into this based on a few grainy photos that are more than 20 years old is ridiculous. Then, of course, there's the Kardashians. Kim and Khloe Kardashian have been spotted at multiple Diddy parties, and in recent years, the whole Kar-Jenner family have been spotted with Diddy. They posted about it on social media, talked about him on their reality shows, and Khloe even had Diddy on as a guest on her show Cocktails with Khloe. Now, they have a real deep friendship, but fans noticed that Kim unfollowed Diddy since the raid on his houses. Khloe, though, still has an Instagram photo up of her, Diddy, and her sisters together, and captioned the post, "No party like a Diddy party." Yeah. Then there's the fact that Kris Jenner is dating Corey Gamble, who was good friends with Diddy. An insider said that Corey was aware of Diddy's controversial engagements, and a lot of people believe that Corey must have had some knowledge of what was going on. Now, an insider also noted, though, that he totally denies these allegations. However, it's been said that Kris has already started to plan her family's rescue in case things get dirty for her daughters. It's all very ugly and very embarrassing, and Kris is scrambling to distance them all from this and distract everyone, but that's going to be impossible if they get called to testify. Now, another source said all these years that they bragged about partying with Diddy have of course got everyone assuming that they were somehow involved in these deprived freak-offs. They then asserted that the family had no idea of the sorts of twisted things he was up to after hours. Now, talking to In Touch magazine, the insider continued, Diddy had plenty of glamorous parties over the years that weren't freak-offs, at least not until the early morning hours when the majority of people had left. Now, the insider suggests that Kris is presently scrambling to distance them from all of this, and I can't blame her. Then there's the VHS tape that was recently leaked. Now, a source sent page 6 of VHS tape that was sent out as an invitation to Diddy's 29th birthday in 1998. It begins with a strange home video style skit in which Danny DeVito, lying on a sofa under a blanket, says, "That's right, Puff Daddy is having a party, and this is Puff Daddy inviting you to come. Let's have a ball." Then a group of celebs take turns reading from a script detailing the date and time, exactly how fabulous and expensive the party will be, and then reading an address to RSVP to. They then said that the venue would be revealed later. Now, this group of celebrities includes Oprah, Ellen DeGeneres, Chris Rock, Mariah Carey, Will Smith, and Joan Rivers, to name a few. It's also been said that the whole video is 6 minutes long, but just over a minute of it was posted. Now, what happens in the other 5 minutes of it? No one really knows. People who have seen this, though, claim that the celebs involved in the tape should be looked at as potential accomplices in Diddy's case, as they appear to be good friends with him and have close ties. And hey, I gotta say, I agree with this. I mean, everyone should be looked into, as the crimes Diddy is being accused of are absolutely disgusting, and he clearly was not alone committing them. Now, Ray J, who is friends with Diddy, has spoken out about how some celebrities are paying off their victims when it comes to the freak-offs. Ray J said, "I'm hearing about artists paying victims to keep their names out of it." Now, Tony Busby, the attorney representing more than 120 alleged victims, disclosed that he has sent out demand letters to the celebrities, asking them to pay up or face the consequences. Now, Tony had previously mentioned that investigations into Diddy's case had implicated several Hollywood big shots. He has disclosed that he's now going after other celebrities, though, who attended Diddy's freak-offs, even if they did nothing wrong. In a new appearance on TMZ's documentary, The Downfall of Diddy: Inside the Freak-Offs, Tony claims such big names are as guilty as those who perpetrated the crimes, explaining that their silence and unwillingness to stand against it makes them liable. Now, I wonder if any of the celebrities we mentioned before were sent these letters. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. And I mean, in a September 17th letter to a judge arguing for Diddy to be jailed until he is brought to trial, U.S. Attorney Damian Williams claimed that his office has the testimony of dozens of witnesses and victims to his serial mistreatment and evidence from dozens of his own electronic devices and those of his co-conspirators. Investigators have taken in more than 90 cell phones, laptops, cloud storage accounts, as well as at least 30 storage devices. They issued more than 300 grand jury subpoenas to obtain this evidence from communication providers, tech and social media companies, financial institutions, and Diddy's companies. Prosecutors allegedly have dozens of videos depicting Diddy's so-called freak-offs that corroborate witness testimony. So who knows really how many people were involved in all of this.
New photos from the night of one of Diddy's major lawsuits shine a whole new light on his relationship with then-girlfriend Jennifer Lopez. We'll get into all this and more in leaked Diddy party photo of Jennifer Lopez will change everything. Diddy, as you likely know by now, has been accused of some pretty heinous things by multiple people, including some past partners. Many lawsuits have been filed against the disgraced rapper. The lawsuit alleged that Diddy and an unnamed additional male celebrity harmed her inappropriately, while another, also unnamed, female celebrity watched. The plaintiff's story in the lawsuit was she attempted to sneak into Radio City Music Hall in 2000 for MTV's VMAs, but when she was unsuccessful, she ran into Diddy's driver. The driver told her to come back after the show, and when she did, he drove her to a large white house with a gated U-shaped driveway. The plaintiff further claims that upon entering the house, she was presented with a non-disclosure agreement and asked to sign. Once inside, she claims there was widespread use of substances, and when handed a beverage, they were in there too. In a bid to find somewhere safe to rest, the plaintiff claims that she entered an empty bedroom, and it wasn't long after she entered that the trio of celebrities allegedly followed. It was then that the multiple transgression happened, ultimately halting when the plaintiff struck Diddy in the neck. She was able to eventually escape the house and return home, but of course, the night left its mark. As reported by the Daily Mail, the lawsuit claims that the plaintiff fell into a deep depression which continues to affect every facet of her life. Diddy continues to assert his innocence. Back in October of this year, the Daily Mail obtained exclusive images of allegedly the very same after-party that this incident happened at, and the photos feature what appears to be a very angry J.Lo yelling at then-boyfriend and presently accused Sean Diddy Combs. The couple appears to be towards the wall of the room that is clearly still buzzing with party energy. Diddy appears to be dressed in what he wore to Radio City Music Hall that evening, a white shirt, baseball cap, and the new addition being what appears to be a bottle in his hand. In J.Lo's case, she had changed from her event outfit of the all-white ensemble with the bedazzled bandana to a colorful diamond and striped mini dress. As the party guests dance around the couple, the vibes could not be more different. Even directly beside J.Lo is who the Daily Mail has pointed out as her sister, Linda Lopez. She has a big smile on her face in some photos. It looks like she's continuing to dance the night away. In other photos, it's unclear if they became before or after the initial argument photo. J.Lo appears to be looking at Diddy in disdain or disappointment as he pours guests glasses from the bottle in his hand. In what the Daily Mail deems the next photo in the sequence, J.Lo is seen pushing away from the alleged confrontation and walking out of frame. As these are photos and not videos, there is no way of knowing exactly what was being said while the pictures were being taken unless one of the two stars steps forward. Though with the timing of the photos being obtained so close to the lawsuit being filed, it's made people look into the images a bit closer and wonder what the apparent argument could have been about. As of right now, J.Lo is not named in the lawsuit filed by the girl harmed at the allegedly same party. The lawsuit simply states Sean Diddy Combs and 2 unnamed celebrities were present. If it was this party, the house would be crawling with famous faces. This after-party event was co-hosted by Eminem and Dr. Dre. Some big-name guests that were included in the series of images the Daily Mail obtained from this night include music artist Jay-Z, magician David Blaine, model Carmen Cass, and rapper Ice-T, and more. To be clear, none of these people were named in the lawsuit either, they were simply present at the after-party. There have been instances in the past when Diddy has hosted star-studded bashes that turn into his bad parties after all the talent has left. The US Sun reported that Diddy's 2005 VMAs after-party went something like that. The event started as a party and was attended by big names like Eva Longoria and Paris Hilton, but the later half of the evening allegedly dissolved into one of Diddy's infamous freak-offs after the majority of the talent had left. The remaining party guests allegedly were moved from the nightclub to Diddy's mansion in the early morning, and this is where his inappropriate party happened. Footage from the later half of the party allegedly shows Diddy wearing the same outfit he had been wearing in the VMA after-party pics. It's unclear if the incident at the 2000 MTV VMAs after-party was a situation like that, or an isolated incident that happened during the party. Diddy is known for having an unsavory and violent past that is completely unrelated to the many lawsuits filed against him lately. Just under a year before the year 2000 after-party, in December of 1999, Diddy and J.Lo were arrested after an altercation in a Manhattan club. Reported at the time was that in the club, Diddy, J.Lo, Diddy's bodyguard, and another music artist named Shine got in a disagreement that resulted in a fight. Diddy and J.Lo were not harmed inside the bar and fled the scene taking a car. Forbes reported that the couple were being chased by police, and the New York Post reported that the car ran a red light before being pulled over by the police. It was during this stop that things started to go south for the famous couple. Inside the car, police found a stolen weapon, the discovery prompting the stars being taken into custody. Present at the station where the couple was taken was retired NYPD detective Derek Parker. After the event, he spoke to the New York Post, giving them an exclusive look into what it was like in the room that night. He said there were all these high-profile lawyers barricaded in the station house waiting to talk to the desk officer, and further went on to recall that J.Lo was first handcuffed to a pole inside the station and then later held for about 14 hours in detention. Of course, like I'm assuming anyone who just experienced a club uproar and arrest like she did, the retired detective said that J.Lo appeared distressed. J.Lo ended up getting released and cleared of all charges first after that 14 hours. She later shared in an interview that she was scared to death in the car at the time. Though J.Lo was cleared of any charges, Diddy wasn't, so a trial had to take place that lasted a few weeks. In addition to the incident at the club, prosecutors also alleged that Diddy and his bodyguard tried to bribe the driver of the getaway car $50,000 in exchange for him telling the police the weapon was his. One of the victims of the incident did testify as a witness at the trial. During her testimony, she claimed that she saw Diddy pulling out the weapon with his right hand, and then very soon after feeling immense pain in her face that later turned out to be caused by the There is a tie-in to this situation and the current Diddy situation. One of the recent lawsuits filed against Diddy came from producer Rodney Little Rod Jones Jr. He filed a civil lawsuit for non-consensual relations and harassment, and in a shocking turn of events, it also seems to possibly reference this 1999 incident as well. The suit claimed that on the day Homeland Security raided Diddy's home, he displayed his and bragged about getting away with using these weapons against people. It went further, saying that Diddy also confirmed to those present that he was responsible for the New York incident with the other rapper Shine. Not only that, but that J.Lo was the one who carried the firearm into the club for him and passed him the gun after he got into an altercation with another individual. Of course, you might notice that this would make J.Lo being in possession of the item and handing it to Diddy improbable if the original victim insisted she saw him pull it out. But it's not impossible, could have happened before the altercation began. In the end, Diddy was acquitted along with his bodyguard. Though it is over 2 decades after the incident, the victim, Natanya Rubin, is still fighting for justice. She joined Elizabeth Vargas Reports for an interview earlier in the year in which she shared that she still has 9 fragments of the projectile in her face. A follow-up interview revealed that Rubin was nervous even years later about sharing her story. She also said in the interview that she wouldn't mind if the case was reopened, even going so far as to say that as long as it didn't cause any health complications, she would be willing to have a doctor remove a part of the 9mm projectile in her face to be used as evidence in court. Another interesting moment in the J.Lo Diddy relationship history is a rumor from the early 2000s that was addressed in a recent interview on Jimmy Kimmel Live. The rumor was that while Diddy was dating J.Lo in the late 90s, early 2000s, Will Smith and his wife had propositioned the Jenny from the Block singer with an invitation to join them in bed. Allegedly, Diddy wasn't too happy with that and threatened to attack Smith. Never one to shy away from anything, Kimmel straight up asked Diddy if this was true. Insert clip here. At first, the music artist made absolutely no movements, just kept his face in a very serious mask. Eventually, he did respond with, "You really heard that?" and laughed the whole thing off, claiming he didn't know what Kimmel was talking about. The talk show host played into the bit, making a remark about how one can't believe everything they hear on the internet.
We've been finding out more and more information about Diddy recently, and somehow Britney Spears has been involved in all of this. Yep, you heard that right, so let's look into her involvement. TriStar Sports and Entertainment Group is the celebrity management firm that previously came under fire for its alleged involvement in Britney Spears' conservatorship battle. Turns out though, they also have a connection to Diddy. The company's founder, president, and CEO is none other than Britney's former business manager, Lou M. Taylor, who she accused of playing a key role in the conservatorship's implementation in 2008. Now, we know that sketchy things were happening with Britney, so who knows what horrible things this group has done in connection to Diddy. Now, Lou actually managed Diddy too, as she confirmed it in 2019. Britney has also previously called out TriStar Services director Robin Greenhill, who was recently mentioned in a civil lawsuit against Diddy by producer Rodney Little Rod Jones. In 2021, it was revealed that Greenhill was in control of Britney's credit cards, medications, and that TriStar had allegedly used Britney's own money to hire a security team to surveil her during her conservatorship, which is honestly just crazy. Now, Britney even spoke out about Greenhill in her memoir, labeling her a weird blank lackey, and accused the pair, along with her own father, Jamie Spears, of bullying her. Now, it was also previously reported by the Los Angeles Times that Britney's legal team was investigating the alleged $18 million that TriStar obtained from her estate over the span of the conservatorship, which was terminated by a judge in November 2021 after 13 years. TriStar, Taylor, and Greenhill have all denied the allegations and have insisted that Britney's conservatorship was put forth by recommendation of legal counsel, not TriStar, and approved by the court for more than 12 years. Now, they mistreated Britney so poorly, and it appears that they helped Diddy cause harms to others. Now, Greenhill's name was back in the press this year after Rodney Little Rod Jones filed a $30 million lawsuit against Diddy, claiming that he mistreated and took advantage of him. Now, Rodney also claimed that Diddy made him a witness to multiple crimes against his own will as well. Now, how does this relate to Britney? Well, she accused the company and its founder, her former manager, Lou Taylor, of helping create and benefiting from the conservatorship agreement put in place by her father, Jamie Spears, in 2008, which she described as traumatizing in her court statements. Now, Britney claimed that TriStar had received $18 million in the conservatorship arrangement, even though Britney didn't have access to her own earnings. Now, the New York Times reported that Greenhill had been an important agent in the company's interest in the conservatorship by controlling her credit cards and medications well beyond what one would expect a pop star's management company to do. Now, a lot of the company's inner workings for how it manages its accounts are kept under lock and key, the paper reported, with two former employees saying they weren't allowed to access basic information like income statements or balance sheets. TriStar first tried to deny it helped originate Britney's conservatorship, which her attorney challenged by presenting the court with an email that showed its reps discussing the arrangement at its origination. The New York Times documentary about Britney's case included allegations that TriStar and Greenhill specifically had operated an elaborate surveillance apparatus to spy on the pop star. But how did this all start? Well, everyone knows about Britney's meltdowns in 2006 and 2007. Now, later, at the beginning of 2008, she was put on a 5150 hold in the hospital. A week after this, she was sent back to the hospital on a 5150 hold again, and her father Jamie was granted temporary conservatorship over the star. Now, soon after the conservatorship was in place, she said her father said, "I just want to let you know, I call the shots. You sit there in that chair and I'll tell you what goes on," she recalled. "I looked at him with a growing sense of horror. I'm Britney Spears now," he said. Now, Britney also spoke out about the 13-year conservatorship, and she hit out at her dad Jamie in the explosive memoir as she opened up about the unrelenting control her family had over her, which, looking back, makes her feel sick. Now, people in Hollywood knew that this was happening but didn't do anything. Finally, in 2019, fans started to realize that something was wrong, and they created the Free Britney movement. Now, with fans backing Britney up, she felt like she finally had a voice and requested the conservatorship to end. Now, she and her father appeared in court multiple times over the year, and on November 12, 2021, the conservatorship was finally over. Now, it seems like TriStar and its employees are always getting in trouble and should honestly be investigated. While Britney is free now, some people don't think she got the justice she deserved. Now that TriStar is intertwined with Diddy, maybe the company and its employees will now be held accountable. Now, Diddy, though, for his part, claims that he's innocent. Now, Diddy is currently awaiting trial at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. He's proposed different bail packages, but they've all been denied. Defense lawyer Alexandra Shapiro asked them to release Diddy on a $50 million bond, which would be backed by his $48 million Miami home and co-signed by several of his family members. Now, she also proposed that Diddy be monitored around the clock by security personnel, be subjected to at-home detention, and have no contact with alleged victims or witnesses. One of the judges who denied this package, Judge Robin Tarnofsky, sided with U.S. Attorney's argument that Diddy posed a risk if he were to be released for home detention. She said, "I don't believe that counsel has the ability to control you, given the very significant concerns I have, particularly because of substance use and what seems like anger issues. The danger, I think, is quite serious," she added of Diddy's release, deciding that the bond package his team offered would not assure his return to court or the safety of the community or lack of witness tampering. In a September 17th letter to the judge arguing for Diddy to be jailed until he was brought to trial, U.S. Attorney Damian Williams claimed that his office has the testimony of dozens of witnesses and victims to his serial mistreatment and evidence from dozens of his own electronic devices and those of his co-conspirators. Investigators have taken in more than 90 cell phones, laptops, cloud storage accounts, as well as at least 30 storage devices. They issued more than 300 grand jury subpoenas to obtain this evidence from communication providers, tech and social media companies, financial institutions, and Diddy's companies. Prosecutors allegedly have dozens of videos depicting Diddy's so-called freak-offs that corroborate witness testimony. So it's safe to say that there's plenty of evidence that will keep Diddy in jail. Another celebrity has been linked to Diddy, and that is model Kate Moss. Photos have been leaked of her and Diddy partying together, and people are shocked. Now, Kate was known for being a party girl at one point in her life, so it's not really that shocking to see her with Diddy, but what is alarming though is that in the photos, it looks like Diddy's holding a pill while he poses beside her. Now, was that for him, for her, or for some other victim? It seems like no one really knows. The photos are from top talent agent Paul Rowland's 40th birthday party in New York City in 1999. Kate is seen partying with Diddy, and he's seen grabbing Kate's neck in the image, taken at Victor's Cafe, a Cuban restaurant and nightclub in Midtown Manhattan. But this isn't the only time that Diddy and Kate have been spotted together. In 2014, they were photographed celebrating Riccardo Tisci's 40th birthday in Ibiza. Diddy actually posted a photo of him, Kate, Naomi Campbell, Kim Kardashian, and more on his Twitter account, though hours later he deleted it. Now, we don't know why he deleted it, but he was together with all these people. Not to mention, in a 2015 interview, he spoke about how he spent surreal nights with Kate in Paris. "Sometimes I'll be in the studio until 3 a.m., or I'll be out in Paris at a fashion show, and just hanging out until the morning with Naomi Campbell and Kate Moss. Those times are always surreal, he told Into the Gloss in 2015. I remember a time I just done a photo shoot for Vogue, and afterward Kate, Naomi, and I just went out and did something a little touristy and cliche. We went and had champagne at the Eiffel Tower, someone had brought music, and we had a little party up there, just the three of us. So, was Kate just there to party, or did she take part in the crimes, or was she even just a victim in all of this? I guess we'll just have to wait and see if she decides to speak up. Now, Kate was known for her party ways though, so at the time it wasn't too shocking that she was seen hanging out with Diddy, as he was known for throwing the best parties. I mean, anyone who was someone was in attendance, and it was an honor to be invited. Since then though, Kate has slowed down her partying days, and we're not too sure the last time she spoke to Diddy, but the fact that she's still being associated with him is not a good thing. Now, a lot of celebrities have been accused of being involved in Diddy's crime ring. Essentially, if you were ever spotted with the rapper or at his parties, people are looking at you differently now. Kate Moss is just the newest celebrity, as others include Ashton Kutcher, Leonardo DiCaprio, J.Lo, and Beyonce and Jay-Z. Now, Jay-Z is actually involved in a lawsuit where he and Diddy are accused of taking advantage of a girl at a party in the year 2000. So, what's the whole story with Diddy though? Well, in March, his houses were raided by Homeland Security, and he kept on receiving more and more lawsuits from people accusing him of mistreating them. Then in September, he was finally arrested, as the government had enough proof that he ran a crime ring for years. Now at this point, he had racked up 9 different lawsuits in less than a year. While in jail though, he has received even more, 16 to be exact, but there are over 120 accusers who are planning to file lawsuits against the rapper. Yep, you heard that right, 120. Tony Busby revealed at a press conference on October 1st that he is representing 120 accusers who allege misconduct against Diddy over the course of 2 decades. Andrew Van Arsdale, one of the plaintiff's attorneys, told the Washington Post that there will be 120 individual lawsuits filed in New York, Los Angeles, and Miami in the coming weeks. Now, he said that more than 3,000 individuals have come forward to his office with accusations against Diddy. Now, it seems like Diddy has been doing this for a very long time, and personally, I'm glad that he's finally getting caught, as the details that have come out about this are just so disgusting. The thing is though, multiple celebrities have been warning us about Diddy and what he's been doing. But at the time, no one listened to them. Kate Williams spoke candidly about Diddy in the past, accusing him of committing crimes and trying to get away with it. During a discussion on the Club Shay Shay podcast, Kat suggested Diddy would be exposed in 2024. Now, the comedian also alleged you have to tell Diddy no. All these big deviants are catching hell in 2024. It's up for all of them. It doesn't matter if you're Diddy or whoever, all lies will be exposed, he said. Now, it seems like he definitely knew about all of this before it became public information, as in another snippet, he claimed he had to turn down $50 million 4 times. P. Diddy be wanting to party, and you've got to tell him no. I did, he alleged. In a 2022 interview for Drink Champs, Kanye West called out celebrities for allegedly working with law enforcement to turn on other celebrities so they could avoid prison. Now, one of the celebrities that he called out by name was Diddy, who he referred to as Puff Daddy. Now, the interview was eventually deleted due to some offensive things Kanye said, but with people now digging it back up, his comments about Diddy hold more weight. Kanye said that Diddy is making deals to keep himself out of trouble. The reason why you gotta talk is because you did a deal, you effing fed. That's why you gotta come at me, because part of the deal for you to be able to do all that and get out of jail is that you promise that you're gonna pull my card, he said. But it seems like that didn't really work out for Diddy. Now, 50 Cent is another celebrity who has warned us about Diddy for years. And honestly, we should have listened. He's been posting on social media now that he's always been right about Diddy, and he makes a lot of posts making fun of the rapper for everything going on. 50 Cent is actually making a documentary currently about Diddy and what he did to all of his victims. Now, 50 Cent has been a very loud voice when it comes to calling out Diddy. But Diddy hasn't been having the best time in jail. The day after he was arrested, Diddy was denied bail and ordered to jail as he faced multiple charges. He appeared in New York and pleaded not guilty, and his lawyers try unsuccessfully to keep him out of jail, requesting his release to home detention, travel restrictions, and a $50 million bond in Manhattan court, but prosecutors are argued that Diddy was a serious flight risk and has the money, manpower, and tools to flee without detection. Now, on October 10th, during an appearance in Manhattan, prosecutors revealed that authorities seized 96 electronic devices in raids of Diddy's Miami and Los Angeles homes, as well as a private airport in South Florida. Prosecutors say Diddy might face more charges, something they have floated during prior court proceedings, and once again, he was denied bail. Now, mid-November, it was reported that Diddy had tried to reach out to prospective witnesses and influence public opinion from jail in a bid to affect potential jurors for his upcoming trial, as prosecutors claimed in a court filing that is part of a bail request. Now, for a third time near the end of that month, he was denied bail again. His lawyers had proposed a $50 million bail package again, and they said they would ensure that the rapper did not flee or try to intimidate other potential trial witnesses. In a bail hearing, the judge said, "The court finds the government has shown by clear and convincing evidence that no condition or combination of conditions will reasonably assure the safety of the community. Given the nature of the allegations in this case and the information provided by the government, the court doubts the sufficiency of any conditions that place trust in Diddy and individuals in his employ, like private security detail, to follow these conditions." So yeah, Diddy's still in there. His trial is set for May 5th, 2025, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens next. Oprah Winfrey has been spotted in a video from 1998 inviting Hollywood stars to one of Diddy's infamous parties. Now, she appears in the video clip inviting guests to the star-studded bash, Diddy's 29th birthday, and she is joined by other well-known celebrities gushing over the star and his multi-million parties. Now, this is not a good look for Oprah. Now, Oprah has had many controversies throughout her life, but being involved with Diddy might be the final nail in the coffin when it comes to her career. She and Diddy have appeared together at numerous charity events, and Oprah has featured Diddy on her show, where they discuss not only his career, but also his charitable efforts. Now, this appearance helped elevate Diddy's message about social responsibility and community engagement, which is kinda ironic if you think back to it now. Now, this isn't the first time Oprah has been linked to some horrible men in the entertainment industry that have ended up behind bars. I mean, it's starting to become a pattern. When she was asked about this, she said she tried to focus less on the crimes and the victims' stories, and instead inside the bigger picture, which a lot of people had issues with. Her former friend Seal took to Instagram to call her out for her suspicious behavior. "You have been a part of the problem for decades, but suddenly they all think you're the solution," Seal said. "Oh, I forgot, that's right, you heard the rumors, but you had no idea he was actually doing those things to young starry-eyed actresses. My bad," he said. Yikes. Now, it seems like Oprah definitely knew what was going on. What's strange is that Oprah has actually been a victim to the crimes Diddy has been accused of. You see, Oprah was born in Mississippi to a single teenage mother and grew up in extreme poverty. During her childhood, the cost of raising Oprah became too much for her mother to handle, so she was sent to live with her biological father. Since then, Oprah has come forward talking about how she had been mistreated and taken advantage of by her cousin, uncle, and a family friend. As a young teenager, and after suffering for years, she then ran away from home, and a year later she became pregnant. Now, she gave birth to a son, but he was premature and passed away only a few weeks later. Now, Oprah has used this story to show her strength and to inspire people, but it seems like she might have helped continue this cycle towards young girls. I mean, we have to talk about the whole sketchy situation about her all-girls school that she created. When the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for Girls opened in Johannesburg in 2007, Nelson Mandela, Tina Turner, Sidney Poitier, Spike Lee, and Oprah herself attended the ribbon-cutting ceremony celebrating the landmark boarding school founded with $40 million of Oprah's money. But less than a year later, 6 of the 152 students who had been personally selected by Oprah to attend the institution came forward to accuse dorm matron Virginia Tiny McGobo of mistreating them. She was then arrested in November 2007 and released on bail, and she faced 14 different charges. "It has shaken me to my core," Oprah said, of the returning to South Africa with a team of private detectives to investigate the allegations and personally speak with the girls. "This has been one of the most devastating, if not the most devastating, experiences of my life." Now, it seems like she and the organization did not look into who they were hiring and how the operation was running. I mean, this whole thing could have been avoided. Now, following the first trial, Oprah was sued by the headmistress mistress of the South African girls' school for defamation. She alleged that Oprah defamed her by implying that she covered up the mistreatment going on at the school. However, this case was later settled outside of court before an arranged trial, according to CNN. Now, that's not all that happened here though, as speculation of numerous missing girls from the academy have spread like wildfire across social media. Now, could Oprah have been taking the girls? That's definitely a possibility. Not to mention, parents also came forward with complaints about the school. In March 2007, some parents complained because they were only allowed to visit their children once a month, and the girls were only allowed to use their cell phones on weekends. One parent said, "It was a nightmare. We had only 2 hours to see my child. Surely this isn't a prison or an institution." Another mother said her homesick daughter was very upset over the rules. "Michelle phones me in tears sometimes, and then I don't know what to say to her." Shockingly, the school is still up and running, which is crazy considering all the scandals that have happened there. Then there's her canceled documentary. Oprah apparently spent a fortune to make sure the docuseries created about her never sees the light of day after clashing with Oscar-winning filmmaker and director Kevin McDonald over the project. As the Apple TV Plus deal was coming to an end, Miss Winfrey bought back the rights to her docuseries and has since decided to put the doc on hold, a spokesperson for Oprah told Page 6. In addition, another source said Kevin made the film, but Oprah didn't like it and he refused to change it, and Oprah has paid back her fee to Apple. Internet users reacted to the news that the documentary was putting on hold, and they were not impressed. Many questioned if Oprah was worried that some damaging information was set to become public. "Well, now isn't this sketchy?" one person wrote in Page 6's comment section. Another individual asked, "What is she afraid of or hiding?" Similar takes showed up on Twitter, as one person wrote, "What is Oprah hiding?" while another tweeted, "Oprah Winfrey shelled out a fortune to prevent a documentary release. Sounds legit, money talks, right? Not the truth." Yeah, I gotta say that this is pretty sketchy sounding. Then we know she's mistreated people in the past, whether it be celebrities, guests on her shows, or even her own stepmother. Yep, it was reported that she was accused of being heartless to her own stepmother after she was kicked out of the 5-bedroom South Nashville home she shared with Oprah's father for 14 years. Barbara Winfrey told Daily Mail that her life had been deliberately ruined by the talk show legend following a bitter divorce with Vernon Winfrey. "Oprah's a billionaire 3 times over, her help to live better than this," Barbara pointed out, adding, "She said publicly that she offered to sell the house and give me the proceeds, but that's a lie. She never said that. Oprah owns property all over the world, so there's no reason to sell this house other than to spite me. It's a personal vendetta," she said. Now, legal papers claim that Oprah was involved in a conspiracy to separate her father and stepmother and essentially make the latter homeless. "What she has done is nothing short of evil, but she doesn't scare me. Her actions cause me to disrespect her," Barbara said. Now, it seems like Oprah is always at the scene of the crime, and online users have been convinced about her downfall for years. One online user posted this on Reddit, and I honestly have to agree with it. They said, "Oprah Winfrey is not a hero, nor should she be considered a role model. Successful? Sure. A good role model? Not really. She's nice, and she's certainly not an awful person, but she also consistently promotes individuals on her show who peddle pseudoscientific nonsense to a massive crowd of guests and television viewers, Dr. Oz being one of the most famous examples. The willingness to promote this type of content either means that the Oprah Winfrey Network is unwilling to do background research into these guests and their claims, or that they will promote whatever gets them the highest view count, making it rather low value and possibly harmful to pretty much anyone who watches the show. Why would anyone look up to someone who endorses science? Anyone who does even basic research into some of the so-called professionals that come on the show would realize they're spewing absolute nonsense. I don't know if this is unpopular or not, but I feel like a lot of people look up to her and think of her as both a pioneer and a good person. I don't see it. Lazy, unhinged, and disconnected from reality, or lazy and opportunistic. That's how I see her and her show. Now, other people responded to this post in agreement, saying, "I noticed this about Oprah 20 years ago. Once you see her, you can't unsee her. She seems shallow, egotistical, self-absorbed, and all the rest of it." Another said, "It wasn't until I was older and seen exactly what her show was about in the 80s and early 90s, and seen she capitalized off making a mockery of her trauma. No longer a role model, just another rich person who snubs their noses at anyone who's gone through life as she has." has. Makes me sick, actually. While a third person said that she was just straight up evil. So, does Oprah have anything to do with Diddy's crime ring? I honestly wouldn't put it past her. I guess we'll just have to wait for more details to come out to see if she was involved.
There's one image in the news where like everybody's holding a fun bottle of something, and a lot of folks look like they're having a good time, and people want to know just how good of a time was it. Was Leonardo DiCaprio having a good time? Was Mariah Carey having a good time? They were both wearing white. Another image that stands out, Puff Daddy screaming at a party, and who does he have in his arms? Paris Hilton and Kim Kardashian. Now sure, this was during the era where Kim was Paris's second in command, her assistant if you will, but we gotta get back to the Kardashians because they know more than they're telling. So there's one video showing Khloe Kardashian bragging about partying with Puff Daddy. This isn't an old episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians. I know, it's like 10 years old, but it's relevant, okay? So Khloe and Kourtney are hanging out. They're discussing this wild party with a lot of friends. Bieber was there, French Montana was there, and Puff Daddy. So later on in the episode, everybody's out bowling, and Girly Pop is like, well, I haven't been to bed yet. I got a plane at like 5:30 a.m. And like she said the quote that we all know about what people were or weren't wearing at the party. And it's like, hey girl, want to elaborate why you got on a plane at 5:30 a.m.? Because we all know when the bad part of the party happened, and it was after 5 a.m. She said, well, I know you're known for the parties. When you think of a party or a good time, you think of Puff. And we've been known to party with you a few times. And then Kourtney was like, oh yeah, like you were just at Puffy's party. And she's like, oh my gosh, I forgot about that. That was an epic night too. Like that night was fun because all the girls ditched me. So it was like me and the boys. It was me, Kanye, and we were just like hanging out and it was fun. I loved it. And then once again, Khloe turns to Puffy and is like, I don't know how you have all the energy, but that's who you are. And that's why people are so drawn to you because you're so eclectic. No matter what, no matter how much you work, you don't sleep, you don't do anything, but that's just you. And if you thought that's where the friendship ends, flash forward, I think 3 years later, 2019, Khloe is posting pictures of her family and Puff Daddy. December 16th, 2019. Everybody's hanging out, it's like, oh my gosh, yeah, like happy 50th birthday. So here's the thing, normally when Khloe posts photos of her family on Insta, the comment section is usually flooded with well wishes. But fast forward to this year, September 24th, 2024, now that everything's coming to light, yeah, there's some suspicion and anger in the comments. Folks want to know, like, hey, Kardashian family, you've been hanging out with Puff Daddy for years at this point. We just went through the timeline. And like, what's going on? So even though this was a completely unrelated post, like Khloe's dropping off her family at school, and yes, there are a couple of nice little things, like there's a pop singer who was like, oh my gosh, best mama. Everybody else wants to know other stuff. They said, and I quote, so are we just glossing over the fact that she and the other Kardashians knew what went on at Puffy parties? The circus is trying to deflect from them parties they went to, and that one was in all caps, but like, I'm not yelling at you, you don't need that. So let's go through the family tree. Apparently Kim has unfollowed Puffy on Insta, but has not spoken publicly over the speculation. But going back to Khloe, once again, she's always said nothing like a Puffy party and she hasn't said anything else. Now sure, nobody in the family has been linked to any of the allegations that Puffy is facing, but they have not spoken out following his arrest. They've been fawning over him for how many years now publicly? And like if we're going up to, let's see, the matriarch of the family, Kris Jenner, her partner Corey Gamble had ties to the rapper as well. So there's a theory. A theory is the family is dreading the prospect of testifying at the upcoming trial. Now this is according to some insiders who claim that the family is in panic mode because all these years they've been bragging about partying with Puffy, and of course everybody's wondering, were you involved in the freak-offs? And if you don't know what the freak-offs are, how can I word this without getting in trouble with the internet? Carefully organized events that involved very naughty activities, not always consensually, with a lot of people. Please get my hint. So according to sources, the Kardashians are all insisting they weren't involved in the twisted, awful things that went up after hours at these parties. Even though we know Khloe was at these parties until 5:30 a.m., which is when the twisted things would have been happening. Now, of course, we do have to mention Puffy had plenty of glamorous parties over the years that weren't these crazy things. But, and this is a quote here, at least not until the early morning hours. Well, I don't know, folks. Didn't I just say that Khloe Kardashian was at these parties until the early morning hours? So if you're wondering how Corey ties into all of it, he made a post in 2020 saying like, oh, I will always thank Puffy and Puffy's partner for all they did in my life. So a lot of folks think Corey must have had some knowledge of what was going on, which he totally denies. So obviously, going back to Kris, Momager Supreme, PR expert, she's a little embarrassed. She's scrambling to distance the entire family from this and distract everybody. But obviously, it's kind of impossible. So let's talk more about these parties for a moment, folks. Let's go back way back. 1999, where Puffy was talking about his white parties, and it's very interesting what he said about them. At the time, 1999, folks, they don't want me to party anymore, but we're not going to stop. We will continue to have fun, to unite people from all walks of life. And he said, you will hear about my parties. Folks, this is almost 30 years ago. They're going to shut them down. Maybe they're going to arrest me. They're going to do all kinds of crazy things just because we want to have a good time. Whenever you bring a different element into people's environments, things that broaden people's horizons, people get intimidated. It's a lot of people out there that feel intimidated by it. Okay, well, I don't know, sir. We have different ideas on this. He also joked about his tactics for keeping women from ditching his get-togethers, and he did this on television, folks. This was on Late Night with Conan O'Brien in 2002. So Conan was like, hey, how do you throw a great party? Because by then, Puffy was already known for his parties. He said woman. Beautiful woman, of course. Beautiful men for the ladies, of course. You need some water. I don't know if guys have noticed this, but a lot of ladies drink water at the parties, so if you don't have what they need, they're gonna leave. And then he said something very interesting. Gotta keep them there. Need locks on the doors. Now, Conan O'Brien was like, that sounds kind of dangerous. Puffy tried to play it off. He's like, no, it's all in fun. Well, he didn't say that word. He said a word that starts with a K that I can't say. But like, nope, that does not sound like a great human rights situation. So sure, as all this continues to hit the light and it's all technically allegation and whodunits and maybes and allegedlys, it's probably gonna be a while before we get anything concrete, because if you went to a Puffy party or hung out with him, you had to sign an NDA. So apparently it's a pretty standard one, like you can't share information related to the disgraced music mogul himself, partners, family members, friends, business associates. You also couldn't photograph, film, or record anything without written consent. And even though that is pretty boilerplate, obviously we all wish we had footage right about now. You also, if you took anything, you can't share anything on social media without any explicit consent from the bad boy founder. Also, you can't give an interview, you can't write a book, you can't discuss anything. So obviously that's probably why we're not hearing about anything, but like, we would still like to know. The non-disclosure seems to cover anything that could get the rapper into trouble, and it does expire at one point. It's valid for, let's see, Puffy's life plus 20 years or 70 years, whichever is longer. Yes, it's boilerplate, but still, come on folks. You can break it, it'll make everybody's lives easier.
Footage has resurfaced of Will Smith participating in a video invitation to Sean Diddy Combs' 29th birthday party, and after everything that has come out about Diddy events, people are wondering just how involved Smith was in the party's activities. We'll get into this and more today in new leaked party footage of Diddy and Will Smith changes everything. In the modern day, Page 6 is the celebrity news site that got their hands on a VHS tape. That is how old this invite is, a VHS tape of the invitation. It's a whole bunch of famous celebrities, including Oprah, Ellen, Ben Stiller, Chris Rock, and more, inviting the recipient to an exclusive Diddy bash. In this section posted to Page 6's YouTube channel, Will Smith has a featured moment saying, "You are cordially invited to celebrate the birth of P. Diddy." No expense appears to be spared. In addition to the celebrity cameos, Page 6 reports that at the time, the VHS invite would have been delivered in a black velvet pouch embroidered with the birthday gala and the date of the event, November 4th, 1998. TSG.com actually leaked this birthday invitation and location 2 days before the bash was set to happen. Because this was 1998 though when it leaked, their servers couldn't handle posting the video all at once, so it was only released in roughly 10 to 20 second chunks. And get this, barely anyone has watched these videos. Of the 5 parts, the one with the most views has 157, so it's kind of like you're the first to hear about this decades-old drama. Anyway, the footage is causing a stir because over the past year, Diddy has been hit with many lawsuits accusing the rapper of physically engaging with individuals without consent. consent, forcing people to perform acts or consume things they do not want to, invading privacy, and generally being a bad guy, and more. Some of these acts he was committing were done in private. Security footage viral earlier this year of an altercation between Diddy and a past partner of his, in which he was physically rough with her in a deserted hotel hallway. But that doesn't mean untoward things didn't take place in public. A term you are probably hearing a lot when it comes to this situation is freak off. These were parties hosted by Diddy in which all parties present would engage with each other, allegedly, not always consensually, and allegedly Diddy would film the events. Many people with suits open against the disgraced rapper who claim to have been involved in these freak-offs say they did not want to be there. However, Diddy's lawyer claims that it was all consensual. The freak-offs part of this scandal is causing problems for many of Hollywood's most famous, as it has become a thing to assume that if someone was spotted at a Diddy party, any Diddy party, then they engaged in a freak-off. That's why all the celebrities in that VHS invite that were so excited to invite people to the birthday party are now being looked at more closely. However, it is worth noting that just because someone attended a Diddy bash doesn't mean they engaged in untoward activities. Freak-offs are commonly reported to have either been planned well in advance with hotels rented and people organized, or that they were a result of late-night partying, so the after party for an event might have turned into a freak-off. Many news publications report that by the time the evening would get to freak-off status, most of the big-name celebrities would have left. Like in the case of Sean Diddy Combs' 2005 VMAs after party. This was attended by stars like Paris Hilton, Eva Longoria, and more. According to the US Sun, as the party switched from a nightclub to Diddy's mansion in the early morning, the big names had long departed the event, and well in his home, the festivities had descended into a freak-off. Footage from the later half of the party allegedly shows Diddy wearing the same outfit he had been in at the VMA party pics. That's how the two situations were connected. But sometimes, even if it's unknown if a party later became a freak-off, that doesn't mean odd things didn't happen. Smith attended and was likewise photographed at a 2004 Diddy party. Now this party in particular, from the photos Smith is in, it doesn't look too strange, a regular party setting. However, other photos that appear to be taken from the same evening show the less family-friendly side of the event. In one photo, you can see an unclothed woman lying on a table surrounded by and with food on top of her body. She has a leaf to protect her lower half, however she is exposed everywhere else. One picture shows Combs standing over that woman and staring down at her while eating what appears to be a chocolate strawberry. The woman is surrounded by chocolate strawberries, grapes, candles, and other food items. The act of eating off an unclothed woman is actually a known Japanese practice that some would consider an art, but was outlawed in China in 2005 after it was deemed a public health concern and morally wrong. Despite the photos from this particular party being available for decades, people are now just starting to analyze them due to all the accusations against Combs. Technically, Diddy was enjoying a Japanese practice, but his past inappropriate actions have made people wonder if the woman on the table was as willing a participant or forced to be there. Again, due to Combs wearing the same outfits in photos with the woman and then later with Will Smith, it appears Smith was in attendance at this particular party. Will Smith and Combs are only pictured talking to one another. It's unclear if Smith also visited that table with the woman or kept his distance. Another example of a Diddy party with freaky elements would be his November 2004 birthday bash. The room was lined with raised levels with curtains at the back, so if guests didn't want to be on the dance floor, they could watch from above, which is admittedly not odd. The weird part came later. As the night went on, the curtains were drawn back to reveal beds, booths, and water-filled porcelain bathtubs. The article also states that screens started displaying the text King Diddy. The booths would be standard for a party setting, but the beds and bathtubs, we don't need that. Now that the public is aware of Diddy's disturbing activities behind closed doors, it makes the inclusion of the beds and baths so much worse. The article goes on to confirm that in addition to the famous individuals at the party, it was also attended by performers like acrobats, go-go dancers, and those in other similar lines of work. This article does not touch on if the bathtubs or the beds were used for anything other than a break from tearing up the dance floor. While the VHS invitation is certainly extravagant, it's not the only time Diddy has sent invites as fancy as his events. For his 2002 VMAs after party, the rapper sent out old-timey looking invitations accompanied by, literally, a golden ticket. The golden ticket had all the party details, whereas the paper contained the dress code and other event rules. The men were required to have a clean-shaven haircut. The women also needed to have fancy hair, but also mani-pedis and to be waxed. And everyone had to be dressed up. He specifically called for top designers to be worn, like Gucci, YSL, you get the picture. All in all, little is known about this exclusive event, but the end of the invite features a line that is so much worse with the present-day context added to it. Don't disturb the fancy. Sure, this could mean just show up looking your best so you don't stand out among the other fancy people, but after learning about the beds from a later party, the women on the table, and the freak-offs, it reads as much, much weirder. But the big question, is this invitation real? No idea. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend at the time because I was probably off somewhere learning to walk. Nowadays, as I search for a source, the party was so long ago that there really isn't much. Plus, an invite like this would be really hard to get your hands on. Other than TSG.com, one other news site posted the invite, this time featuring that golden ticket and envelopes. There is a chance that it is in fact real. Either way, the party happened, and if the don't disturb the activities is as weird as it sounds today, then we don't really have to wonder if some untoward things happened at this extravagant affair. But to bring it back as to why you probably clicked this video, the connection between Diddy and Will Smith. Their history includes more than just partying. A rumor made its rounds that while Diddy was dating J.Lo back in the late 90s, early 2000s, Will Smith and his wife had propositioned the Jenny from the Block singer with an invitation to join them in bed. Allegedly, Diddy wasn't too happy with that and threatened to attack Smith. A wild rumor that found its way into a more recent segment of Jimmy Kimmel Live. Never one to shy away from anything, Kimmel straight up asked the rapper if this was true. At first, the music artist made absolutely no movements. He looked very serious, eventually breaking to respond with, "You really heard that?" and laughed the whole thing off, claiming he didn't know what Kimmel was talking about. The talk show host played into the bit, making a remark about how one can't believe everything they read on the internet. Even if the rumor proved to be true, Smith and Combs must have worked it out, considering they were pictured at multiple events together in later years, including the premiere of Hancock in 2008. Yes, plus, in a wild turn of fate, Diddy happened to be the person speaking next at the Oscars the year Will Smith rocked Chris Rock live on television. After the moment, Diddy had come out on stage and said, "I did not know that this year was going to be the most exciting Oscars ever. Okay, Will and Chris, we're going to solve that like family at the gold party, okay? But right now, we are moving on with love."
In April of 2014, Sean Combs threw a huge party bash for his friend rapper Meek Mill at a rented mansion in Las Vegas. The event was hosted at a Parisian palace that Diddy dropped $25,000 to rent for just one night. Meek Mill turned 37 and the guest list was filled with A-list celebrities including Lil Durk and French Montana. Hard to believe we'd be talking about a party that happened a decade ago, but this is Diddy, after all, and the event has now resurfaced in the news for all the wrong reasons. Video footage and claims from the property manager, who had to clean up the mess afterward, paint a picture of a wild and chaotic. According to Jason Haidt, the man in charge of the mansion, the aftermath was nothing short of disgusting. He described the condition of the mansion as awful, claiming he found broken bottles, used rubbers, and BLOOD on the beddings. Yikes. There was powder, razor blades by the hundreds, and lubricant on the dressers and marble floors. The footage obtained by Daily Mail shows a scene that's anything but a classy celebration. Guests were eating sushi off the body of a naked woman who lay sprawled on a table. The party appeared to be non-stop substance-fueled frenzy. Haidt also said that he was contacted by Meek's personal assistant, who gave him very specific demands. One of the requests was that all the bedroom doors be fitted with new locks, which were to remain unopened for security purposes upon the guest's arrival. The keys for the locks were only to be handed directly to Diddy himself, and no one else was to have access, which doesn't sound suspicious in the slightest. He'd also first been told to expect around 850 people for the bash, but then there were more like 900. Not that it really makes a difference at that point. I mean, that is an ungodly amount of people to attend a party. I guess, it is in a mansion, but with such a large crowd though, the party was bound to get out of hand. Haidt also claimed that Diddy's team insisted on bringing their own smoke detectors. They weren't happy with the existing detectors in the mansion and said they wanted brand new ones, which they would have shipped and installed once they got there. The team assured Haidt that the detectors would be temporarily attached and then removed after the party ended. Alright, so next up, let's talk about an infamous VHS tape. A VHS tape, you say? Look, this was 1998, and that was how you flexed your exclusive party invites. A source recently sent a copy of this tape to Page 6 that was originally used to invite celebrities to Diddy's 29th birthday bash. The tape starts with Danny DeVito, who's casually lying on a sofa under a blanket, telling viewers, "That's right, Puff Daddy is having a party, let's have a ball." Now the words "come" and "ball" so close together in the context of a Diddy party invite. Pretty ominous. In context, having a ball at a Diddy party can mean many different things. Luckily, DeVito didn't mention more than one ball, or that they'd be anywhere near anyone's mouth. At least not in any of the footage of the tape that's been released to the public. Then a lineup of celebrities, including Oprah, Ellen DeGeneres, Chris Rock, and the man who slapped him, Will Smith, Mariah Carey, and Joan Rivers, take turns reading from a script. They hype up the date, the time, the ridiculously expensiveness of the party, and then leave the venue a mystery, promising that it will be revealed later. Classic Diddy, just always keeping people guessing. The video is 6 minutes long, but only a minute of it has been released, so what goes on in those other 5 minutes? Who knows? Some say the celebs involved should be looked closely at, given their close ties to Diddy. After all, if the party's as wild as some people are claiming, it's hard to believe some of these A-listers were just there for the canapes. For the canapes. I looked this up, but it's a French word. It's some sort of hors d'oeuvre. Leonardo DiCaprio's name has also surfaced in connection to Diddy, particularly due to photos of him at several of Diddy's infamous parties. Diddy himself once named Leo as the #1 person on his white party invite list, which Leo was probably, a pretty cool thing to be called at the time, but now being called the #1 person on Diddy's invite list, that's like being tossed a hot potato on fire covered in spikes. Now, despite the links, a source close to DiCaprio has said that he hasn't been in contact with Diddy in years. The source also said that Leo apparently never participated in Diddy's freak-offs, adding he attended a few of his parties back in the early 2000s, but literally everyone did. They were not freak-offs, they were big house parties. Leo, who is at the start of his career at the time, has reportedly moved far beyond that world. The source continued, Leonardo DiCaprio has absolutely nothing to do with any of this. For anyone to assume he'll get roped into this based on a few grainy photos from over 20 years ago is ridiculous. And in recent years, the entire Kardashian-Jenner clan has been seen partying with him. They've posted about it on social media and discussed Diddy on their reality show. Khloe even invited him to appear as a guest on her talk show, the name of which is Cocktails with Khloe. Considering the circumstances, it's a pretty apt name. So much that's not going to get into the video here today. Recently, fans noticed that Kim Kardashian unfollowed Diddy on Instagram after the raids on his houses. Now, was this just because she was genuinely shocked and disgusted, or was she in panic mode trying to distance herself from him for, selfish reasons? Khloe still has an Instagram photo of herself, Diddy, and her sisters together with the caption, "No party like a Diddy party." And there's Kris Jenner as well, who is dating Corey Gamble. Corey is a close friend of Diddy's, and sources claim that he was aware of Diddy's controversial activities. With Diddy's legal troubles now making headlines, sources say Kris is scrambling to protect her daughters. It's all very ugly and very embarrassing, and Kris is scrambling to distance them from all of this, a source shared. Another insider said that many fans assume the family was involved in Diddy's so-called freak-offs, but they insist that they had no idea what was happening behind the scenes. Diddy had plenty of glamorous parties over the years that weren't freak-offs, the source explained, at least not until the early morning hours when the majority of people had left. Martha Stewart, known for her empire of home goods and lifestyle expertise, has been to one of Diddy's famous parties, at least one. On November 20th of 2009, she posted on her website about attending what was being dubbed as the party of the century, Sean Combs' 40th birthday. The event took place in the grand ballroom of the Plaza Hotel in New York. Martha described the night, saying, "The party was simply stunning, and I had such a fantastic time." Martha also posted pictures of herself at the event. She also included photos of Diddy arriving, and one of them together, captioned, "My friend, Sean Puffy Combs Diddy." People, of course, didn't think much of these photos then. In 2017, she even had Diddy as a guest on her VH1 cooking show with Snoop Dogg, Martha and Snoop's potluck dinner party. During the show, they played a card game where one prompt asked, "When I die, I want my last words to be." Diddy responded with 3 words, I did it. Just another thing to add to the long list of Diddy-related quotes that have not aged well. Martha Stewart, of course, is no stranger to legal troubles herself. In 2004, she was convicted of charges including conspiracy and obstruction of justice in a case related to the sale of stock in ImClone Systems, a biopharmaceutical company. She was sentenced to 5 months in prison, 2 years of probation, and a $195,000 fine. But as of now, she has not been officially linked to any of Diddy's criminal activities. Still, people are wondering, considering how close she appeared to be with him in public. Diddy, for his part, had never been convicted of a serious crime before 2023, though he had long faced accusations of violence and mistreatment of women. That changed when his ex-girlfriend Casey Ventura filed a lawsuit accusing him of mistreating her during their 10-year relationship. Diddy's attorney denied the allegations, calling them outrageous and accusing Cassie of trying to extort him. The case was settled quickly, but the damage was done. In May of 2024, security footage surfaced showing an incident between Diddy and Casey that matched her claims, and Diddy was forced to issue an apology. Many saw it as insecure, given that it came out only after he was caught. Diddy's troubles didn't stop there. After Casey's lawsuit, more individuals began to come forward accusing him of similar mistreatment. By the fall of 2024, it was revealed that Diddy had been running a crime ring out of his parties, and the FBI raided his homes. Investigators uncovered that his infamous after-parties had been a front for illegal activities, with dozens of victims. By October, more than 120 people had accused him of various crimes, and Diddy was arrested in September of 2024. The accusations surrounding Diddy's parties have led to many questioning the role of celebrities like the ones I've just discussed who came to these events. Other sources have described Diddy's parties as wild, with some guests leaving early to avoid the, quote, turn that the party would take. So my point is, did Martha Stewart leave early, or did she stick around?
Internet users recently resurfaced a 2016 Howard Stern interview in which Usher said very curious things took place at Puffy's home when he lived there. Afterwards, Usher's Twitter account briefly disappeared, leading to speculation that he was trying to hide something. His posts have since reappeared, and he denied scrubbing his account, blaming it on a hack. Most celebrities who have been publicly linked to Puffy have not issued a statement since his arrest, leading many to wonder who may have known what and when. Oh, and obviously Puffy has also denied all allegations against him. Many high-profile celebrities are scared to death to speak out against Puffy after he was thrown behind bars on charges recently, as a 2-decade-old clip resurfaced of the hip-hop mogul joking about locking women inside his wild parties. In the video, Puffy told Conan O'Brien in a 2002 interview that he hosts quinky-dinky parties with loads of beautiful women and booze. He said a lot of ladies drink water at parties, so if you don't have what they need, they're gonna leave. Gotta keep them there. You need locks on the doors. And Puffy said that he also keeps the AC off and the room hot so people get comfortable and loose. Ooh. The I'll Be Missing You rapper may have been bragging about his now notorious freak-off parties, which prosecutors, because this is now a court case, said involved women who had been slipped something, who were forced to engage in prolonged and derogatory acts with big-name celebrities. And like I said before, a lot of the celebrities spotted at these degenerate parties over the past couple of decades have still not spoken up against the music mogul, likely out of fear for their own reputations. Celebrities are silent because they are scared to death of their brands being tanked by fans over ties to Puffy. And even worse, they fear if they cross him, things could end in disaster, at least according to Eric Schiffer, CEO of Reputation Management Consultants. This is what he said in a statement to news outlets. Some of the A-listers, by the way, include ex-girlfriend Jennifer Lopez, former TV co-host Ashton Kutcher, longtime friend Naomi Campbell, fellow rapper Jay-Z. Another PR person, Doug Eldridge, said, "There's no shortage of reasons why celebs are remaining tight-lipped. First, the nature of these allegations are fairly gruesome, from intercourse-related crimes to slipping folks substances without their consent, and so forth and so on." Eldridge said the scope and scale of evidence that was collected during the federal raid included a lot of phones, a lot of computers, and now more than 50 individuals who are reportedly cooperating as witnesses. Third, the possible depth and reach of those who might be complicit and therefore compromised for having participated in Puffy's illicit parties, kind of staggering. So Puffy is currently facing a minimum of 15 years in prison, and did plead not guilty to the charges in federal court in Lower Manhattan. A judge ordered the Bad Boy Records founder be held without bail pending trial, and was denied when his lawyer tried to appeal the decision the day afterwards. Puffy actually previously suspected that his parties would raise eyebrows, and he said so in a 1999 interview with Entertainment Tonight. He said, "They're probably going to be arresting me, doing all types of crazy things just because we want to have a good time. Whenever you bring up a different element into people's environment, things that broaden people's horizons, people get intimidated. It's a lot of people out there that feel intimidated by it." Another PR expert, Eddie the media trainer, also weighed in on why folks might be choosing to keep their mouths shut right now. Say you have a client who worked with Puffy, and the news of his arrest comes out. What's your game plan? What do you do first? You kind of have to look at it like a chess match. You're trying to think a few steps ahead. Like, okay, if I do this right now, what is the chessboard going to look like later? And what are my options going to be? One thing that's important to remember with this scenario, my sense is that we are in the first or second inning of something that is going to go on for a while, especially if this goes to trial. There's going to be discovery, and all sorts of information is going to come out. Sworn testimonies, victim statements. And so from a crisis strategy standpoint, you basically want to say, okay, how do I keep as many options as possible for as long as possible so I can have as much control as possible? Thinking about it strategically, what is the advantage to making a comment right now? I would say there is none, and your goal is to distance yourself as much as possible from the center of the controversy, especially if you weren't involved. Making a comment is more likely to just attract the kind of attention that you don't want. And when asked specifically at what point do you talk to the press or issue a statement, the answer is never, depending on who you are and depending on what your involvement is. In Ashton Kutcher's best case scenario, this is a story for the next week or whatever. He doesn't comment about it, it goes away. Nobody ever asks him about it again, and he never has to address it. It's in his best interest to be silent. One person who has come forward might provide some answers as to why others are choosing to stay mum. 50 Cent is not holding back about his longtime rival. The rapper and television producer addressed his relationship with Puffy in an interview with The Hollywood Reporter that was published recently. So 50 Cent, who worked in a lot of the same circles as Puffy back in the day, explained why he never attended the Bad Boy record founder's famous parties, where Puffy allegedly committed some of the heinous acts he's been accused of. He said, "I've been very vocal about not going to Puffy parties and doing SHIT like that. I've been staying out of that SHIT for years. It's just an uncomfortable energy connected to it." 50 Cent said, "He asked to take me shopping. I thought it was the weirdest SHIT in the world, because that might be something that a man says to a woman. And I'm just like, nah, I'm not effing with this weird energy or weird SHIT, coming off the way he was just moving. From that, I wasn't comfortable around him." 50 Cent specifically addressed the 2016 video that emerged earlier this year, the one that shows Puffy attacking his then-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, in a hotel hallway. He's like, okay, first he denied that it even happened, and then the tape comes out, so it means everything that N-word says is a lie. Well, that's what 50 said of Puffy, and by the way, Puffy has strongly denied the allegations in all of the suits against him. 50 Cent said when somebody watches that, if they have a daughter and they can imagine her being under those circumstances, that SHIT is crazy. Like, they let him get away with it, with all the influence and power you have. The person you're with is supposed to want to be a part of your life, not be forced. The Power producer and actor is also making a documentary about the allegations against Puffy, and after a bidding war, Netflix purchased the rights to the documentary back in May. 50 Cent said last year that the proceeds from the docuseries would go towards victims of SA. And when asked by The Hollywood Reporter what made him produce the documentary, 50 Cent said, "I'm the only one from hip-hop culture that's produced quality projects. We do have a lot of talent within our culture where the talent has developed a comfortability in front of the camera. So they're usually a part of it as an actor or driving force of why someone would watch the project, but not the behind-the-scenes production, producing the whole project. So there's a difference." And despite working, once again, very much adjacent to Puffy in the early 2000s, the indie club hitmaker clarified the two were never friends. He said it was mostly work. I wouldn't call it a friendship because there wouldn't be disappointment between us if we didn't speak to each other. He said there were points where we worked together. Jennifer Lopez actually told him he should work with me, 50 Cent, as a songwriter in the beginning. And he said once he was around at the early stages, and he could have done my record deal at that point. And that happened in the year 2000. And 50 Cent said, following that, he was fired at by somebody outside of his grandmother's house after the label had signed him. And he's like, yeah, I'm just getting back to work, and Puffy would call me to write. I remember my son's mom would answer, and I didn't want to get on the phone, like, no. And she was like, what the F, we need money. She's looking at me like, why? Why don't you want to talk to him? And 50 Cent went on like, I didn't ever party. I didn't hang out with him. Puffy is a business person. When people call him a producer, I see people that were taken advantage of, who produced things that he took from them. He got the credit. He's not a producer. He's been able to take advantage of the business and the creatives in it. 50 Cent doesn't have any interest in doing that. He says he falls under the creative, so he just didn't take to hanging out with that. 50 Cent was also asked why other celebrities aren't speaking up about Puffy like he is. And he was like, come on. He said some of them were involved at the parties and enjoyed themselves, so they don't know what the F is on the tape or what's not on tape, so they're not going to say anything because they might have had too much fun. And then you've got other people who look and go, well, that's not my business and I don't want to be in it. Then you've got a part of culture that says that's snitching or, stuff like that. And it's not uncomfortable for him to say that because, well, he's been saying it for many, many years. He's been telling us he doesn't mess with them. He doesn't like the way you're moving. He's like, this is all crazy. And he stated everybody else is not going to be as comfortable saying that as he is.